Chapter 747. Benefits? Everyone's eyes lit up upon hearing this. Big Sister Bai, why did you suddenly think of doing this? And Lin rubbed his hands together in an attempt to maintain his composure, but he was unable to conceal the scorching light in his eyes. Su Qianyan was a little embarrassed. After all, she wasn't very familiar with Bai Ling. We didn't do anything, so it's not a good idea to receive benefits, right? Lu Qianhuan tugged on Su Qianyun's sleeve. You'd be a fool not to take advantage of an opportunity like this. A faint smile appeared on Bai Ling's face. It's all thanks to all of you that I was able to obtain control over this world, so it's only right for me to give you all some benefits. She turned to look at Xiaoza and Tina with a vibrant smile as she spoke. Don't refuse, there are quite a lot of treasures left behind in this world. The black and white orbs appeared in the void and began to revolve like a pair of twin stars. Bai Ling's eyes glowed with a black and white light as her divine sense engulfed the entire small world. Dabai, I'll give this to you. She flipped a hand over, and a blue immortal fruit appeared in her hand as spatial ripples proliferated outward. This was the power of the ruler of this world. As long as there were no obstructions, she could retrieve items from afar within the small world. Bai Ling handed the immortal fruit to Dabai. This immortal fruit is known as the Sea Pearl Immortal Fruit. It has the effects of observing Tao and expanding one sea of vital energy. It's a 5th grade immortal fruit. Thank you, Big Sister Bai. You're so gentle and considerate, woof. This immortal fruit was perfect for Dabai, who was about to attain his domain, so he was extremely happy. Bai Ling turned to Lu Qianhuan and paused momentarily before pulling out a piece of jade that exuded frosty air. This is the dark frost heart jade that was produced in the Phoenix Research Institute's realm of extreme negative energy. Use it to enhance the power of your domain. Lu Qianhuan accepted the dark frost heart jade with a dainty smile. Thank you, Big Sister Bai. You're the best. I'm glad you like it. Bai Ling replied before closing her eyes as if she was searching for something else. 2 of the Immortal Land's fruits have been plucked? If I had known earlier, I would have searched the bodies of those cultivators. They stole my things, yet they still want to run, she said with some dissatisfaction before continuing her search. In reality, one of the perpetrators was currently sleeping in Lin's arms, while the other was a woman by the name of Long Kuei, who had already left. And for a fairy as beautiful as you, Su Qianyan, why don't I grant you a celestial spring to make you even more beautiful? Bai Ling waved a hand, and a clear immortal spring filled with vermilion bird would appear in front of Su Qianyan. You can use vital energy to control the temperature of this spring water, and it contains the essence of the pure Yin of heaven and earth. It can nourish one's skin and enhance one's true Yin physique. And Lin's eyes widened. Su Qianyun's looks were already heaven-defying, and now she was even more beautiful. Was she going to break the heavens? Thank you, Big Sister Bai Ling. Su Qianyan accepted the immortal spring with a serious expression. Big Sister Bai Ling, when you visit the Greenwood Imperial family in the future, I have to give you a big present. Su Qianyan's serious expression made her even more adorable, and Bai Ling couldn't help but rub her head with a smile. All right, then I'll come visit you more often in the future. Bai Ling then turned to Xiao Zhe with a hint of appreciation in her eyes. You're already at the pinnacle of the return to void intermediate stage, so there aren't many treasures that are suitable for you. There's also a Tao integration stage, true dragon bone on the Divine Mountain. Take it and observe it for yourself. Gasp. Everyone drew a sharp intake of breath upon hearing this. Bai Ling made it sound like it was a casual statement, but this was the bone of a Tao integration stage true dragon. Its value was definitely not inferior to an immortal tool. To return to void stage primordial dragon tribe cultivators, This bone was even more valuable than an immortal tool, as they might be able to observe the path to Tao integration from this bone. This gift is too valuable. Xiao Zhe had never interacted with Bai Ling before, but he was too embarrassed to accept such a valuable gift from her. I'm telling you to take it, so take it. Bai Ling opened her palm, and a golden dragon bone appeared in her hand. She immediately pushed the dragon bone toward Xiao Zhe. Xiao Zhe was almost moved to the point of tears. He knew that he was basking in his master's glory. Otherwise, why would Bai Ling give him such a valuable gift? He was so excited that he almost blurted out, "Thank you, master's wife." But he then thought of Su Xiaolan and he repressed the urge. Bai Ling turned her eyes toward Tina to find that she was still in a deep slumber. However, that didn't stop her from figuring out what she needed. After all, the Purple Star tribe had done some research on the fairy tribe. She flipped her hand over, and a green, golden, and white gem appeared in her palm. This is the Four Seasons Immortal Stone, which is imbued with the Tao of the Four Seasons. If you put it on your little fairy, she'll be able to better observe the power of nature. Isn't this stone a little too big for her? And Lin was a little surprised. You can shrink it with your intent. Bai Ling gripped the immortal stone lightly, and it shrank to the size of a grain of rice. And Lin placed the Four Seasons Immortal Stone on Tina with an extremely solemn expression. The aura exuding from this stone was even richer than that of a high-rank immortal fruit, and it was imbued with an extremely profound Tao intent, so it was definitely going to be extremely valuable. Even someone as thick-skinned as Lin was feeling a little embarrassed now. Bai Ling was simply too generous. It was as if she were throwing treasures at him with no regard for her own life. To be honest, and Lin's hands were a little weak, Bai Ling turned toward Lin with a thoughtful expression. And Lin, you have so many treasures. I really don't know what to give you. How about you tell me what type of treasures you want? I'm a rather vulgar person, so I'll just take spirit stones. And Lin replied with a buoyant smile. Bai Ling. I don't have any. She added, this small world has everything, but it doesn't have spirit stones. And Lin was a little embarrassed. To be honest, what he lacked the most were spirit stones. As for other treasures, he didn't even know how many he had in his storage ring. Oh, right, there's something that you'll definitely like. Bai Ling's eyes suddenly lit up. What is it? And Lin blinked in confusion. 100 Beasts Fusion Core, created by the Mechanical Bloodline, which is also the energy core of the original Gundam. Bai Ling explained with a dainty smile. I still have 100 Beasts Fusion Core that I've been using for a long time. My God, I want it. And Lin was extremely excited. The power of Gundam 3 had already been engraved into his mind. Now that he had 100 Beasts Fusion Core, he would have another helper at the pinnacle of the return to Void initial stage. This was already a huge trump card for Lin. Bai Ling waved her hand lightly, and a golden energy core appeared in her palm. There were 3 other Gundams in Lin's storage ring that didn't have cores, and they were all treasures that he had looted from the Purple Star ruins. He thought for a moment before pulling out one of the Gundams and refining it with a drop of blood. Thus, Gundam 4 was awakened. Chapter 748. My codename is Yao Ji, and I await your orders, Master. The Silver Gundam's voice was that of an extremely pleasant female. After it awakened, it bowed slightly toward Lin in an extremely graceful manner. And Lin was shocked. You can speak. A human-like expression of confusion appeared on the Silver Gundam's face. I represent the highest level of artificial intelligence in the Purple Star. How could I not know how to speak? Not only can I speak, but I also have extremely strong learning abilities. And Lin instantly felt like the Gundams of the past were a lot more adorable and dumb. The main point was that they were dumb. All right, then don't call me Yao Ji anymore. It's too hard to pronounce. Just call me Gundam 4. And Lin patted the Silver Gundam's shoulder with a gratified expression. Master, forgive me for being blunt, but to be able to come up with a name like Gundam for is a sign of one's lack of education, as well as one's disregard for precious things. You're not a good master, the Silver Gundam said with an enraged expression. And Lin, holy F asterisk CK, what just happened? This Gundam was insulting its master. And Lin's dumbstruck expression drew a burst of laughter from the woman beside him. I'm your master, and this is the code name I gave you. All you have to do is carry out my orders seriously, understand? And Lin looked at the Silver Gundam with a serious expression. The Silver Gundam looked up into the sky at a 45-degree angle as tears flowed from its eyes. My heart is as bright as the moon, yet the moon shines upon the clear ditch, and Lin's expression darkened upon hearing this. What? It could even recite poems to express its emotions now. The Silver Gundam continued to speak in a seductive voice. It's not that I love the world. It's that I've been misled by my past. Flowers will bloom and wilt. It's always the East Monarch's fault. If I go, I'll go. And if I stay, how can I stay? If I get all the flowers on my head, don't ask me where I'll go. And Lin felt like a sword had been stabbed into his heart upon hearing this. He repressed the urge to throw up blood and turned toward Bai Ling. Is there something wrong with this Gundam? Did he graduate from an acting academy? Bai Ling pursed her lips as if she was trying to hold back her laughter. These energy cores are of the highest quality, and they're considered top-tier artificial intelligence, so they possess different types of self-awareness. This Gundam of yours is called Demoness. Perhaps it's a rather lively self-consciousness. Lively? He could even recite poems to express his mood and mock his master. Was this something that could be summed up with the word lively? And Lin suddenly felt like Gundam 1 and Gundam 2 were so adorable, even though they couldn't speak. All right, Gundam 4, hurry up and come back. And Lin felt like there was no point in bickering with a Gundam. The Silver Gundam didn't move and proudly raised its head. And Lin, Enchantress, come back here. And Lin snapped, Yes, master. A cordial smile appeared on the Silver Gundam's face as it made its way toward Lin before disappearing into his storage ring. And Lin finally heaved a long sigh of relief upon seeing this. He massaged his brows and sighed with emotion. Phew, I've finally gotten rid of him. Big brother I think this chick is quite interesting. An artsy Gundam, she's super awesome. Woof. Dabai stuck out his tongue with a lecherous expression. And Lin, shut up. All right, that's all for now. And Lin, you have to agree to a request of mine. Bai Ling clapped her hands with a smile. Huh. And Lin was dumbstruck. What are you waiting for? Don't you know how to return the favor? Bai Ling glared at Lin. And Lin, all right, I've been tricked as expected. You're the one who eats from others, and you're the one who eats from others. All right, tell me what you want. And Lin heaved a forlorn sigh. Bai Ling had helped him quite a bit, so he didn't want to turn her down. Aren't you planning to establish the 4-9 Immortal sect? Give me a position, Bai Ling demanded. And Lin faltered slightly upon hearing this. She was offering herself up to him. This was a request. A trustworthy return to Void, final stage mighty figure, joining his sect, was exactly what he wanted. And Lin was ecstatic, but his expression was as calm as an old dog's. He pretended to consider this request for a moment before waving a hand in a straightforward manner. All right, it looks like this isn't an issue considering our friendship. Everyone thought to themselves, as expected of the sect leader, acting so well. All right. Bai Ling was quite elated. You told me that your sect has different divisions, right? How about I become the pavilion lord of the Purple Star Pavilion? No problem. And Lin replied with a buoyant grin. You're the best. Thus, the 4-9 Immortal sect gained another powerful backer. I'm going to search for a new Immortal sect with Dabai and the others now. Do you want to come with us? And Lin asked. Bai Ling shook her head. No, I still have some things to take care of in this small world. Let me know when you've decided on a location. I'll exchange voice transmission talismans with you. And Lin didn't insist and left after exchanging voice transmission talismans, with Bai Ling thinking back, and Lin had shamelessly begged for Bai Ling's voice transmission talisman. But Bai Ling simply flew away without leaving any way of contacting him. She only told him that they would meet again if fate allowed it. She was as free as a wild horse. Now that they had met again, Bai Ling voluntarily asked for Lin's voice transmission talisman. Perhaps this was what she meant by fate. And Lin and the others left. Bai Ling stood on the spot and looked at Lin's departing figure as she murmured to herself, "There's no time left. I hope I can make it in time. After all, you're someone who has created so many miracles in just a few short years. I'm sure you'll be able to surprise me in the near future." And Lin flew toward the center of the phoenix image on Bai's back with Lu Qianhuan, Su Qianyan, and Xiao Zhe. They followed the coordinates provided by Bai Ling and finally saw the passageway between the two worlds, upon which they departed from this small world. However, they were immediately dumbstruck as soon as they appeared outside. Gasp! What is this place? And Lin's mouth gaped open in shock. They were situated on a vast expanse of lush grassland. There were many vibrant plants growing on the undulating grassland as far as the eyes could see. All of them were exuding boundless vitality. Vital energy transformed into clouds and mist that drifted through the air. The pure energy combined with the vast landscape was extremely refreshing. Lu Qianhuan silently pulled out her phone and activated a spell formation. A pillar of light soared into the sky, following which a number appeared on her phone. She stared at the number for a few seconds before replying, "I use my phone's GPS. If my phone isn't broken, this is the place where the phoenix egg first appeared." Everyone was astonished. What kind of power could transform a vast expanse of scorched earth within a radius of over 500 kilometers into a paradise filled with boundless vitality? No one could think of an answer, so they could only speculate that it was the phoenix egg. Could it be that the phoenix egg's mutation had changed the surrounding environment? After a long while, and Lin finally spoke, "I have a bold idea." "I have an immature suggestion for your bold idea. Woof." Bai chimed in. The human and dog exchanged a glance and smiled. Hee. The Purple Star 6th Research Institute was also known as the Phoenix Research Institute. This was a small world. Bai Ling bade farewell to Lin and the others with a disconsolate expression. However, not long after, her voice transmission talisman began to flash. This voice transmission talisman hadn't lit up for over 10,000 years. They had only just parted ways, and that man was already calling her? What kind of unexpected situation has happened? She was a little confused as she accepted the voice transmission talisman. "What is it?" "We've chosen the location of our immortal sect, hee." A smug chuckle sounded from the other side of the voice transmission talisman. Bai Ling was astonished. "So soon? Where did you choose?" "It's right in front of your house." The man chuckled before adding, "It's right outside the exit of the small world. That place is amazing. Perhaps this is the will of the heavens." Bai Ling. Chapter 749. The 4-9 Immortal Sect was located outside the passageway leading to this small world. Bai Ling was astonished, and she spoke into the voice transmission talisman. "Establishing a sect in that godforsaken place? Can you be any more casual?" "Haha. Who said it was a godforsaken place? There's even a bird egg in that place. Furthermore, it really isn't what you think. I really wasn't being casual. The outside world has changed a lot. Come out and have a look if you don't believe me. Not only is the scenery here picturesque, but the vital energy here is also extremely rich. It's a great place to establish a sect." And Lin's cheerful voice sounded. And Lin's words were quite incredulous. This was clearly a vast expanse of scorched earth. So why did he have to say that the scenery was picturesque? Bai Ling hesitated momentarily before deciding to go out and have a look. If Lin dared to trick her, She would just beat the sh*t out of him the next time they met. She passed through the passageway between the two worlds and left the small world. A light breeze then blew past her face, and a sense of comfort spread through her entire body. The vital energy here was so rich that it had liquefied into a mortal mist, filling her with energy. This is the original place. Bai Ling stared blankly at the scenes unfolding before her eyes. Even though she had seen many bizarre things in her life, she was still quite astonished by what she was seeing. "Hi, big sister Bai, you're here." A white-robed man waved at her with a smile. Bai Ling made her way over and couldn't help but ask, "How did this happen?" The white-robed and Lin dusted off his spotless sleeves before speaking in a solemn voice. "Perhaps this is the will of the heavens." Bai Ling, in any case, the 4-9 Immortal Sect is going to be established here. It just so happens that the land of the fallen phoenix used to be ownerless, so we can avoid disputes here. The place that connects to your small world is the place with the densest vitality. Our sect headquarters will be located here. After that, the entire realm of the fallen phoenix will be under the jurisdiction of our 4-9 Immortal Sect. And Lin spread open his arms and fantasized to his heart's content. "This place is extremely valuable. Are you confident that you'll be able to control it?" Bai Ling's brows perked up with curiosity. Su will communicate with the Greenwood Imperial family," and Lin said. "Don't worry, leave it to me." Su Qinyan patted her chest and promised seriously, "As for the other forces," and Lin chuckled. "I don't care." Everyone shuddered, and a hint of reverence and respect appeared in their eyes as they looked at Lin. This was the bearing that a sect leader should have. Their 4-9 Immortal Sect was already the most powerful sect in the Purple Star State aside from the Greenwood Imperial family. If the other sects really wanted to invade the 4-9 Immortal Sect's territory, then they would have to consider their own strength. Bai Ling smiled. "All right, let's start building the sect. Which one of you can build a house?" Everyone looked at each other and did not speak. The air was filled with silence. Bai Ling, "What about the designs? Or should I say a rough blueprint?" Everyone remained silent. Bai Ling's expression darkened and her eyes widened. "You guys didn't prepare anything, and you're telling me you want to establish a sect?" "We had to choose the location first, so we didn't think about anything else." And Lin spoke with an awkward expression. Bai Ling slapped her forehead, and her hair was a little disheveled. "I really have to give it to you guys. So you're going to establish a sect from scratch, and it's all about love? You can't say it's all about love." A thought suddenly occurred to Lin, and a smile appeared on his face. "I have money. There's no problem that money can't solve. If we don't have a blueprint, we'll hire someone to design it. If we don't have the manpower, we'll hire workers to build it. In any case, as long as we have spirit stones, I don't lack spirit stones." Bai Ling's lips twitched slightly, and she looked at Lin as if he were an idiot with too much money. Soon, a piece of news began to circulate throughout the Purple Star State, stating that a sect known as the 4-9 Immortal Sect had suddenly appeared with several return to void stage mighty figures among its ranks. This piece of news was verified by the Greenwood Imperial family, Red Building Valley, Flying Divine Sect, and other first-rate sections. Thus, the 4-9 Immortal Sect instantly became renowned throughout the Purple Star State, and it even created a massive stir in the Kingdom of the 9 States. The news spread like wildfire, and this sect was like a rising sun that had officially stepped onto the stage of the Tai Chu continent. Not long after that, another piece of news spread, and it instantly created a massive stir in the Kingdom of the 9 States. The 4-9 Immortal Sect was going to be located at the realm of the Fallen Phoenix in the Purple Star State. In 3 days, they would be hiring construction experts from the entire Kingdom of the 9 States to build a true sect at the center of the realm of the Fallen Phoenix. The establishment of an incomparably powerful new sect had attracted countless ambitious people to it. All of a sudden, heroes from all over the world gathered at the realm of the Fallen Phoenix. The moment they entered this region, they were all shocked by the picturesque scenery of the land. A vast expanse of scorched earth had been transformed into an immortal realm. What the hell was going on? Even though they were envious, it was very difficult for them to harbor any improper thoughts. It was like a mortal visiting the celestial court, but there was no way that they would become so envious that they would want to take the celestial court for themselves. Right? Only an idiot would dare to think like that. Among these people, there were some construction experts from the cultivation world who had come to be hired to build a new sect. Anne and Lynn and the others naturally had to treat them well. Some of them wanted to join the new sect, but Lynn told them to piss off first. There were also a large number of people who were representatives of sects of all sizes. They were here to befriend the 4-9 Immortal sect and were eager to present their congratulatory gifts. The sect hadn't even been established yet, and they were already here to present their gifts? What the hell was this? And Lynn would always accept all of their gifts before explaining to them how harmful it was to give them gifts in advance. He also suggested that they do it again when the sect was officially inaugurated and the ribbon-cutting ceremony was held. All of the sect representatives were completely dumbfounded. F***CK. How could they suggest that they present their gifts again? What the hell was going on here? Each sect's congratulatory gift was stored in a high-grade spatial ring, and it was temporarily managed by Dubai as the sect's operating funds. This year was the year of the dog, and Dubai had the fortune dog halo, so he might be able to make a fortune. Soon, 3 days had passed, and Lin, Bai Ling, Lu Qianhuan, and the others stood at the center of the realm of the fallen phoenix. There were over 1,000 cultivators gathered below them. There were powerful cultivators with high cultivation bases, as well as cultivators with low-rank Dao body stage cultivation bases. In short, there were no mortals here. They were the construction team of the cultivation world, and many of them had participated in the construction of immortal buildings. And Lin didn't think that a single call from him would gather over 1,000 construction workers here in just 3 days. One had to realize that construction workers were extremely rare in the cultivation world. In fact, there were probably less than 1,000 construction workers in the entire Purple Star State. He cleared his throat. Welcome, everyone, to join me in the grand construction of this sect. Now, I'm going to sort out the talents first. Those in charge of design and planning, please stand over here. Those in charge of material creation and procurement, please stand over there. Those in charge of spell techniques, please stand over there. There were so many people here, so when Lin couldn't take all of them, that wouldn't even be enough to pay his wages. Due to the fact that construction workers in the cultivation world had spell techniques, they were extremely efficient, so he only needed to select 100 people. The 1,000 cultivators all sprang into action upon hearing this. At this moment, a crisp and slightly domineering voice suddenly sounded. No need. Withdraw all of them. I alone am enough here. Chapter 750. Over 1,000 construction workers instantly exploded with rage upon hearing this as they glared at the person who had just spoken. In front of so many people, saying that she alone was enough, wasn't it obvious that she didn't put them in her eyes? This was no longer a matter of stealing their jobs. This was a matter of looking down on their abilities. And Lin faltered upon hearing this before also turning toward the direction of the voice. He was then greeted by the sight of an extremely domineering woman making her way over with her chest puffed out. Not only was this woman speaking in a domineering manner, but her breasts were also extremely domineering, something that Lin had never seen before. She was an F-grade powerful being. Dubai didn't say anything as he stared at the woman with his eyes wide open. His nose was bleeding from his wound. The woman made her way over to Lin, and a smile appeared on her beautiful features as she extended a hand in a rather formal manner. Hello, Mr. Lin. My name is Li Xinyu, and my Dao title is Grand Master Construction Cultivator. Grand Master Construction Cultivator? This Dao title was also very domineering, and Lin shook the woman's hand before accidentally catching sight of her chest, which was concealed by a short V-neck red dress. And he also began to shake it. Gasp! How terrifying! Li Sinyu's outfit was quite provocative. She wore a short red dress that not only revealed her slender waist, but it also revealed her deep cleavage. Below her waist was a short red dress, revealing a pair of long and slender legs that were extremely alluring. If it weren't for the fact that Enlin had reached the initial success stage of the divine body, he would most likely also have a nosebleed like Dubai. Hello, Grandmaster Construction Cultivator. May I ask what you are capable of? Why do you say that you alone are enough to construct this sect? And Lin asked. He always had a bit more patience when it came to beautiful women. Because of my title as the Grandmaster Construction Cultivator. Li Sinyu stared at Enlin with a surprised expression, as if she was wondering why Enlin would ask such a question. Enlin wore a confused expression. However, all of the cultivators behind Li Sinyu felt as if they had been struck by lightning upon hearing the title of the Grandmaster Construction Cultivator, and they were rooted to the spot in astonishment. An even more fervent uproar then erupted. Grandmaster Construction Cultivator. That woman is the Grandmaster Construction Cultivator. My God, I'm so lucky to see such a legendary figure. She's here? Doesn't that mean Holy Lord Tianwei is also here? The 4-9 Immortal sect sure has a lot of face. Even a Grandmaster Construction Cultivator is willing to build a house for them. One has to realize that she doesn't even give face to the 4 great sects. Since she's here, let's go. There's no suspense in choosing this candidate. I'm not leaving. I still want to admire the heroic bearing of the Grandmaster Construction Cultivator. Me too. Being able to witness the Grandmaster Construction Cultivator and Holy Lord Tian while building a house with my own eyes is the most meaningful part of this trip. Over 1,000 cultivators were excited and restless. Their social circle was actually very small, and it was exactly because of this that almost everyone knew about the Grandmaster Construction Cultivator. To them, Li Sinyu was like a god, and Lin wasn't deaf, so he naturally heard everyone's conversation. Ouch. As it turned out, he had managed to ride on someone's coattails. The smile on his face softened a little. Fellow Taoist master, come, let's go over there and talk. Dubai, go entertain the other cultivators. And Lin instructed. Dubai shook his head vigorously. No, big brother in, I want to go with you, Woof. It waddled along beside Lin, but its big, round eyes were constantly looking at Lin's sinew. Before he knew it, his nose was injured again. All of the cultivators were a little dumbstruck. And Lin wanted to send a dog to entertain them? That wasn't a big deal, but the dog actually refused. All of the cultivators followed along with curious expressions. By the way, Mr. Lin, I need some peace and quiet when I'm unleashing my spell techniques, Li Sinyu said. And Lin could read between the lines. Yunlu, go entertain them. Su Qianyun nodded and distributed 100 spirit stones to each of the 1,000 cultivators for them to rest elsewhere. However, all of the cultivators didn't leave. Instead, they were still looking at Enlin and Li Sinyu with curiosity in their eyes. I'll go entertain them. Bai Ling made her way toward the group of cultivators. Boom! The terrifying might of a return to void final stage cultivator erupted forth, and all of the cultivators felt their legs give out from under them as they struggled to breathe. I'll give you 1 minute to disappear from my sight. Otherwise, don't blame me for killing all of you. Bai Ling's voice was like a clap of thunder, and all of the cultivators immediately fled for their lives. And Lin, Su Qianyun's beautiful eyes widened with astonishment. Her impression of Big Sister had been refreshed once again. So this was what Bai Ling was referring to when she said, entertain them? Bai Ling's method was very much to her liking, and her eyes lit up as she looked at Bai Ling. And Lin and Li Sinyu arrived at the location where the phoenix egg had been placed. Li Sinyu cut straight to the chase. I'm sure you've heard a lot about me, so let's cut to the chase. This woman was still as domineering and confident as ever. And Lynn chimed in, "That's right. I've heard a lot about you, Ms. Grandmaster Construction, Cultivator. What conditions do you have?" "All right, then I'll get straight to the point. You said that your plan is to construct an immortal sect palace complex within a radius of 10 kilometers. There will be one main palace, 35 branch palaces, 10 main pavilions, 1,000 small residences, and 20 residences. On top of that, you also want stunning scenery, a sense of class, and a high-class atmosphere. I've combined all of your requirements and combined them with my own abilities to give you 3 prices to choose from. The first price is for me to do something casual. 3 million spirit stones, no bargaining. The palace will be roughly equivalent to a top-rate sect. It'll be grand and imposing, and it'll also have the ability to regulate vital energy and nurture spiritual energy." And Lynn's face convulsed upon hearing this. Such bad *SS effects, and she had to add casual as a prefix. Was there any justice in this world? "The second price is for me to do something casual. 30 million spirit stones, no bargaining. The palace will be roughly equivalent to a mini version of the 9 Imperials. Aside from being able to do something casual, it'll also be able to help you modify the energy of the veins of heaven and earth. There'll be a certain chance that it'll gather the vital energy of heaven and earth to create a new mystic realm. On top of that, the palace will be constructed using the essence of heaven and earth. The layout and structure will all be in line with the natural order of things, thereby improving the cultivator's enlightenment. The third price is for me to do something serious. 30 million spirit stones, no bargaining. The palace will be roughly equivalent to a mini version of one of the 4 super sections. Aside from being able to do something casual, it'll also be able to gather the essence of heaven and earth and gather the power of the galaxy within the sect. Not only will cultivation be much more efficient, but it'll also be able to provide an environment for nurturing all types of rare immortal spirits. As an exception, I'll be giving you 6 small mystic realms with special effects." And Lynn was astonished. Not only were the prices astonishing, but the effects were even more so. He stared blankly at Liciniu for a long while before coming to his senses. You're telling the truth? You're that bad *SS. You can even create an environment comparable to one of the 4 super sects? Are you F***king defying the natural order?" Liciniu's brows furrowed slightly, and she seemed to be a little angry. "You can refuse my service, but you can't question my professionalism. You know about the Shui Palace, right?" "I do. I built it. You know about the Moon Palace on the moon, right?" I do. I built it." Liciniu was just about to say something else, but Lynn cut her off. He was afraid that his heart wouldn't be able to handle it. All right. You've really impressed me, Ms. Grandmaster Construction, Cultivator." And Lynn waved his hands in denial before asking hesitantly, "You're so impressive, but can't you come up with a better name for the service? What do you mean by casual, normal, serious? It'll make the customer feel uneasy. Also, if the customer doesn't have any money and chooses a casual service, it'll hurt the customer's feelings. Why don't you change it to a platinum service, a diamond service, or a monarch service? Wouldn't that be a lot better? I don't lie, and I like to be honest. That's how I really work. If I say I'm going to do a casual service, then I'm really going to do a casual service. I'm a person of integrity." Liciniu chuckled, clearly not taking in Lynn's suggestion to heart. "Integrity, my F***king**SS. Do you really think you're going to do a casual service? Do you have some kind of misunderstanding about the word integrity?" And Lynn felt as if his heart had been stabbed by a sword, and he really wanted to retort loudly. "Then, how much does a celestial court service cost?" And Lynn asked. Liciniu glanced at Lynn. "It's not that I'm looking down on you, but you can't afford that price. You should think about the 3 prices I mentioned to you." And Lynn scratched his head in confusion. A faint smile appeared on Li Sinyu's face as she looked at this young sect leader. Have you thought about it? Which one do you want? Don't worry, regardless of whether it's a casual service or a serious service. I guarantee that you'll be satisfied with my service. I'm the best in the kingdom of the 9 states. Then just do a casual service, and Lin replied in a low voice. Li Sinyu. Chapter 751. Li Sinyu suspected that she had misheard, and she asked again, What did you say? Just do whatever you want with this sect. And Lin could only muster up the courage to repeat himself. Li Sinyu. She forced a smile onto her face. You're not joking, are you? Isn't the 4-9 Immortals sect a first-rate sect comparable to the 9 Imperials? You're telling me to do whatever I want? She was already cursing in her heart. I've said so much to you, and you're telling me to do whatever I want? What AF asterisk king waste of my time and energy. After all, this was only a small area with a radius of over 50 kilometers. And Lin was asking if he could build a celestial court-level building, and he was full of the aura of a nouveau riche. In Li Sinyu's opinion, even if he didn't want to do it seriously, he should at least choose a normal one, right? In the end, he was telling her to do whatever she wanted, and Lin was a little apologetic. The sect has only just been established, so I'd better keep a low profile. Li Sinyu took a deep breath, then another deep breath, then another deep breath, and Lin's vision blurred. She did her best to calm her emotions, and a benevolent smile appeared on her face again. You don't have money, right? And Lin, sorry, I'm not a very direct person. You don't have money, right? Li Sinyu's eyes narrowed slightly, and Lin blinked and hesitated momentarily. In the end, he seemed to have sensed what the woman wanted to say, and his eyes lit up as he nodded. That's right. I don't have any money. Can you give me a discount? Why are you flexing when you don't have money? Can't you just set the price as soon as you heard I was going to do something? You had AF asterisk king long conversation with me, and even asked me what the price of a celestial court level building was like. What are you after? What's the point of asking a poor C asterisk and T like you? To someone like me who values efficiency above all else. You're just wasting my time. You're wasting my money. Li Sinyu pointed a finger at Lin's nose and unleashed a torrent of abuse. Dabai was astonished. Not only does this woman have huge breasts, but she's also very fierce. Woof! Li Sinyu cursed Lin to her heart's content. This was the first time that Lin was scolded for being poor, and he was immediately stunned. It's not like I don't have any money. It's just that I only have so much cash, but I have a lot of treasures in my storage ring. And Lin raised his head with a serious expression. And Lin, who had always regarded himself as a nouveau riche in the cultivation world, couldn't take it any more. Oh, you're rich. Tell me, what kind of service would you like? Li Sinyu glanced at Lin with a smile. And Lin, I'm just messing around. Li Sinyu took a deep breath and clenched her fists as if she were about to explode. But in the end, she still sighed heavily, rubbed the space between her eyebrows, and said, I must be crazy to argue with you about this. Forget it. Pay up. Let's get to work. And Lin turned to Dabai. Come on, Dabai, bring out the sex funds. He really didn't have any more spirit stones. Thankfully, all of the sects had sent congratulatory gifts of several tens of thousands of spirit stones, and only then did they come up to a little over 3 million spirit stones, which was just enough to build this new sect. It could be said that all of the sects that were trying their best to curry favor with the 4-9 Immortal sect had created a bright future for the 4-9 Immortal sect. Li Sinyu took the money and patted her huge, snow-white F-class chest. Little snail, come out and work, she said in a clear voice. Immediately afterward, right before Lin and Dabai's astonished eyes, a tiny snail slowly crawled out from the crevice in the wall. The snail was extremely beautiful. It had a body that resembled golden jade and a body that resembled white jade. It was an extremely beautiful design, and it was quite an extraordinary creature It asked in an extremely slow voice, "What do you want?" "I just want to," Lee Sinew replied. And Lin stared blankly at the snail crawling on Lee Sinew's chest. And he wanted nothing more than to take her place. Dabai was also extremely envious, and he suddenly transformed into a miniature puppy before running around Lee Sinew with an adorable expression. "Big sister construction, cultivator, do you want a pet? The type that you can sleep on. Woof." And Lee Sinew couldn't even be bothered to respond to Dabai. She merely looked at the little snail on her chest with a smile. The little snail shot a glance at Lin and Dabai, and the tiny eye on its antennae glanced at them from the corner of its eye. It was clearly very small, but they could sense a sense of disdain and condescension from its gaze. This little snail had a very powerful aura, and Lin suddenly recalled that the group of construction cultivators had mentioned Holy Lord Tian when they were discussing the Grandmaster Construction Cultivator. Could this snail be Holy Lord Tianhua? "Sigh, Grandmaster Construction Cultivator, you have to be more accurate in your judgment of people in the future. Don't always take on projects that you can't afford. I'm very tired. Also, the profit margin of this business is very low." The little snail grumbled in a resigned manner. Lee Sinew immediately put on a bold front and stuck out her tongue with a slightly embarrassed expression. "I was wrong. I thought this sect was so powerful, but I didn't think it would be such a poor organization. I've already spoken, so I can't just let them off the hook." And Lin's heart convulsed upon hearing this. "What the F***CK? Can't you at least consider the feelings of the bystanders? Aren't you embarrassed to criticize your owners so openly? All right, let's begin. You do the spatial simulation, and I'll do the void creation." The little snail jumped down from Lee Sinew's chest. Boom! The ground tremored violently. When everyone looked up again, the little snail had already transformed into a gigantic snail that was over 1,000 feet tall. Gasp! What a dazzling light! And Lin exclaimed. The gigantic snail's shell shimmered with golden light under the sunlight, as if it were going to blind everyone. Its skin was as translucent as white jade, and its pair of antennae pointed toward the sky. Its eyes looked down upon all living beings, as if it were a primordial beast looking down upon ants. An invisible sense of majesty welled up in everyone's hearts. The little snail's aura was already very powerful, and now that it had grown larger, its aura was even more terrifying. This gigantic snail is not to be underestimated. Bai Ling exclaimed, "Even I'm struck by a sense of fear when facing this gigantic snail." The Grandmaster Construction Cultivator was at the return to void final stage, which was equivalent to Bai Ling's cultivation base. However, Bai Ling was unable to ascertain the cultivation base of this gigantic snail, so it was very likely that it had already progressed to the mythological beast level. Bai Ling was a little perplexed. How the F***CK could a snail cultivate to the mythological beast level? If you were talking about the black tortoise or Bashya, which were highly intelligent crawling creatures that had inherited their bloodline power from ancient times, it would still be possible for them to become divine beasts. However, this was a F***king snail. She had never heard of a mythological beast level snail. She had never even heard of an immortal beast or soul beast level snail. There was something else that she couldn't understand. This was a Tao integration stage mythological beast, which was on par with mythological beasts like the true dragon and the phoenix, yet it was building houses for a living? Grandmaster Construction Cultivator, let's begin. The gigantic snail said in a slow voice. All right, let's begin. Lee Sinew took a deep breath and closed her eyes. Chapter 752. After Lee Sinew closed her eyes, heaven and earth suddenly fell silent. The air stopped flowing and the plants stopped swaying. It was as if everything had frozen into a painting. And Lin was given a fright, and his nerves immediately tensed up. However, he discovered that everyone else was also looking around with astonishment on their faces. They're fine? Could it be that we've entered a strange realm? And Lin was a little perplexed as he turned toward Li Xinyu again. Li Xinyu was still, standing silently with her eyes closed, appearing tranquil and dignified. Visualize the blueprint of your sect in your mind, and I'll combine your subconscious desires to create a sect that's most suitable for all of you. A voice suddenly sounded between heaven and earth. It was Li Xinyu's voice. Everyone's heart jolted upon hearing this. She even had such a high-level mind-reading technique. Building a house depended on one's imagination, and this was the best way to democratize everything in one's mind. Ms. Construction Master, I have a question. We still have some founding elders who aren't here yet. What do we do? And Lin suddenly asked. Xianyuan Cheng, Su Xiaolan, Xue Zhantian, and the others weren't here yet. So how are they supposed to democratize everything? Those who aren't here, you can think for them. Li Xinyu snapped. I'm just messing around. Why do you have to ask so many questions? And Lin, everyone on Earth, no one would dare to live in their houses if they were in the business of messing around. However, in the Kingdom of the Nine States, messing around with Li Xinyu was something that countless people could only dream of. One had to realize that many sects wanted to invite Li Xinyu to mess around with them, but she might not even agree. And Lin, Bai Ling, Xiao Zhe, Lu Qianhuan, Su Qianyin, Dabai, and Tina, who had just been shaken awake, all closed their eyes as they visualized the sect in their minds. What the house would look like, what the landscape would be like, and everything would be like. The prodigies of the Tai Chu continent were extremely knowledgeable, and there was nothing that could limit their imagination. After all, among Lin's group, some were high-ranking officials of the Purple Star civilization. Some were prodigies of the four great sects, some were princesses of the imperial family, and some were mighty figures of the ancient dragon clan. After a long while, Li Xinyu opened her eyes and drew a sharp intake of breath. She looked at Lin and the others in shock. Her voice trembled a little, and it was unknown whether it was from anger or shock. She said loudly, "You don't have money, but you're dreaming." "No, it's actually so terrifying." "Isn't poverty supposed to limit one's imagination? You spent 3 million spirit stones, and you imagined a sect that could King fly out of the universe." Li Xinyu's breathing accelerated as a faint blush appeared on her face. She was truly enraged, and she pointed a finger at Bai Ling. "You want a massive sky fortress? Do you know how much it costs to build a sky fortress? Ah. And you?" Li Xinyu pointed at Dabai and roared, "Myriad Beast Palace? If you really want to build something like that, you won't even have a radius of 50 kilometers. You too." Li Xinyu pointed at Su Qianyin and said, "I know you've been to the Moon Palace, but you want a palace that's even more perfect than the Moon Palace. My God! And your imagination is so out of this world that even Grandmaster construction cultivators can't achieve. Be more realistic. Can't your imagination be more realistic? Your sect costs 3 million spirit stones, not 30 billion. Li Xinyu was about to roar with rage at the end of her sentence. She really had enough of these weirdos. They wanted to build a house that was so extravagant that she didn't even dare to imagine it with the money of a poor family. How dare they? Do it again! Li Xinyu snapped. Everyone was a little embarrassed by Li Xinyu's words. They closed their eyes again and repressed their imaginations before starting over again. They were a lot more realistic this time. When Li Xinyu opened her eyes again, her expression had returned to normal. Heaven and earth suddenly returned to normal. A light breeze blew past, carrying with it the fragrant aroma of green grass and spirit plants. Heavenly glacial ice crystals, 3 tons. Her storage ring flashed, and ice crystals emanating a frosty aura appeared in midair. She then waved a hand through the air, and the heavenly glacial ice crystals flew toward the large snail. The large snail opened its mouth, and a spatial vortex appeared within it before absorbing the 3 tons of heavenly glacial ice crystals. White jade, 10 tons. Great white mud, 1,000 tons. Gold, 50 tons. Dark demon iron, 200 tons. 5 colored glass, 300 kilograms. Red rain stone, 100 tons. Seeds, living beings, spirit, life, fluid. Countless symbols flashed in Lee Sinew's eyes as if she were performing high-speed calculations. Many common or peculiar materials flashed out from her storage ring before flying toward the large snail's vortex mouth. TSK, TSK, TSK. 3 million spirit stones? Just those materials alone are worth it. And Lin was a little astonished. I've heard my father mention a Grandmaster construction, Cultivator, before. Lu Qianhuan said in a quiet voice. She and Holy Lord Tian are the undisputed #1 architects of the Kingdom of the 9 States. Even in the entire continent, they're among the most elite. Apparently, she has a dozen or so small worlds, from which she can obtain materials from, which is why her construction is so cheap. I've also heard that she already has 5 large spirit stone mines, 3 renowned cultivation mystic realms, and a few dozen useful small mystic realms. In any case, she's the undisputed super landlord of the cultivation world. Gasp! And Lin was once again stunned by Lee Sinew's monstrous wealth. No wonder Lee Sinew always called him a poor sea *NT. She really did have the right to insult him. Before they knew it, the large snail had swallowed all of the materials into its stomach. Everyone turned to look at the large snail. In all honesty, they still didn't know how Lee Sinew and Holy Lord Tian had constructed the buildings, so they were extremely curious. I'll transmit the final image to you. Lee Sinew stepped forward and made her way toward the large snail before slapping her palm toward its head. A faint blush appeared on the large snail's face. Some images are really exciting. It murmured to itself for a moment before its massive body began to tremble violently. Lee Sinew's eyes flashed as she abruptly stomped a foot into the air. Infinite universe, spirit dream bridge. Boundless golden light erupted from the large snail's golden body as spatial power encompassed an area with a radius of over 50 kilometers. 2 realms substitution, heaven and earth condensation. Boom! Boundless power flung everyone into the air. Immediately afterward, the large snail let loose a series of elated cries. Oh, ah! A series of buildings rose from the ground. All types of plants began to grow, and all types of plants began to grow on the ground. Water mist began to condense, and an inland lake as beautiful as a mirror began to appear, and Lin was astonished once again. There's no need to build a building over time. Rumble! Earth tremored violently, and a mountain over 10,000 feet tall rose from the ground. The trees on the mountain were lush, and spring water was bubbling. White mist lingered in the air, and white cranes flew in unison, bringing with them bursts of vitality. And Lin, all right, the buildings and the landscape were all completed in an instant. This was perhaps the most impressive thing about a construction mighty figure. Just feed it some materials, then transmit an image of a building to it, and it would spit out a building. Oh, not only that, but it could even spit out an entire mountain. Chapter 753. The Grandmaster Construction Cultivator and Holy Lord Tian were still working on their divine techniques. Lee Sinew was responsible for the calculations and virtual construction, while the huge snail was responsible for materializing the materials. A series of lavish buildings rose up from the ground within a radius of over 50 kilometers. Beautiful mountains and rivers began to appear, and all living things began to grow. The quaint yet grand 9-story main palace glowed under the sun. Beside the bright moon lake, the beautiful moon pavilion stood quietly. A tall building rose up from the grasslands. This was Bai Ling's Purple Star Pavilion. Aside from that, the Dragon Valley, the Fairy Forest, the Forest of 10,000 Swords. One area after another began to appear. Everyone's eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. They had initially thought that Li Xinyu was a bit of a snob with her bad temper and high prices. Now that he looked at it, the level of elegance of the other party's casual work was F*** toppling his worldview. As expected of the #1 architect of the Kingdom of the 9 States, those 3 million spirit stones were absolutely worth it. And Lin sighed with emotion. Everyone nodded silently upon hearing this, clearly in agreement with Lin. They couldn't help but begin to fantasize. 3 million spirit stones was already so amazing. Then what would it be like to do it with 30 million spirit stones and 300 million spirit stones, seriously? And Lin, how about I contribute 30 million spirit stones to the sect so that the Grandmaster Construction Cultivator can do a normal construction? Lu Qianhuan couldn't help but suggest, I can contribute as well. I have some money in the imperial family. Su Qianyin was also quite excited. She was clearly very much looking forward to the results of the normal construction. No, I've already told you that I can't use your money. I'll use the sect's funds to do the renovations after the sect develops. And Lin immediately refused. 30 million spirit stones was not a small sum. Even for the second generation of the imperial family, Su Qianyun and Lu Qianhuan, it would be extremely difficult for them to gather such a sum of spirit stones. Not long after that, the divine techniques were deactivated. In less than a day, the 4-9 Immortal Sect's cultivation ground was officially constructed. Holy Lord Tian were reverted back to his little snail form, and he rested on Li Xinyu's soft, fair chest before yawning in a slightly bored manner. Li Xinyu waved a hand at everyone who had been tossed into the air. It's done, you can all come down now. And Lin and the others flew towards the woman and kept praising her and the snail's construction skills. The little snail was a little proud of the praise, and the 2 antennae on its head swayed freely. In fact, it had heard this kind of praise countless times in its life, but every time it heard it, it would still feel a different kind of joy. I'm not bragging. Among the mythological beasts that stand proudly at the pinnacle of all realms, I, Holy Lord Tianhua, am the #1 house builder. The little snail snorted proudly. Hiss! Everyone took a deep breath when they heard this. The little snail in front of them was actually a mythological beast. What kind of existence could be called a divine beast? Only beasts that had successfully reached the Tao integration stage could be considered mythological beasts. Who would have thought that 3 million spirit stones would be enough for a divine beast to build a house for him? Everyone felt like this was a little strange. A mighty mythological beast had been reduced to carrying bricks and selling houses for a living? Why did it feel so special? Hee, Grandmaster Construction Cultivator, Big Brother Snail, can you give me your contact information? And Lin asked with an expectant expression. Li Xinyu's brows furrowed slightly. What, you want after-sales service? My business doesn't provide after-sales service, and I don't provide any warranty services. And Lin's lips twitched upon hearing this. Holy F***CK. She was probably the only construction company that could say something like this without any qualms. No, it's not what you think. I just want to give you my contact information. When I have money in the future, I can invite you to come to my sect again. And Lin tried his best to smile amicably. TC8. Li Xinyu crossed her arms and chuckled lightly. I'm not interested in poor people. There are countless people who want my contact information. I'm not interested either. The number of female beasts that want my car can line up from the East Sea all the way to the West Sea. The little snail lay on Li Xinyu's chest and wagged its head from side to side, and Lin's eyelids twitched, but he maintained a smile on his face. However, he was fuming internally with rage. Did this little snail misunderstand his words? He wasn't interested in snails at all. I feel like you really do have some misunderstandings about my wealth. And Lin heaved a forlorn sigh. The Sumeru ring in his hand flickered. Immediately, several immortal weapons emitting terrifying auras appeared before the crowd. Evil-slaying sword, realm-piercing nail, heavenly frost shard, blood soul jade coffin, and divine flame badge. Brilliant light erupted forth as a series of phenomena appeared. Lee Sinew and the little snail's expressions shifted slightly, and Lin's storage ring flashed again, and the special tools, the vermilion bird mirror, the regal crown, the spatial magic box, the 1,000 possibility box, and the 99-fold extreme heavenly formation disc appeared before them. This time, Lee Sinew's eyes finally lit up. That golden crown and the skull box are imbued with a very powerful dragon tribe power of the divine Tao. Not bad. Lee Sinew commented, "That mirror is even more extraordinary. I can sense the aura of a holy beast from it. Furthermore, that inky black box and that small formation disc are imbued with profound Tao intent. They must have been crafted by a Tao integration stage mighty figure, and they're all special tools that were meticulously forged. They're priceless treasures." The little snail was also elated, and Lin was astonished to hear this. The person and the little snail before him were able to glean so much information about his special tools with just a single glance. Their appraisal abilities were truly terrifying. He stowed away all of the items before turning to the woman in red with a faint smile on his face. "Now, do you believe that I can let you have some fun?" Lee Sinew nodded with a smile. "I underestimated your wealth. I look forward to our next collaboration." She flipped a hand over, and a white jade stone appeared in her palm. She then handed the jade stone to Enlin. "What's this?" Enlin asked curiously. "This is a sensing talisman. Crush it, and I'll be able to sense your location." Due to the difference in cultivation base, voice transmission talismans are limited by distance. But this sensory communication talisman is able to transmit information to me without any obstructions, Lee Sinew explained with a smile. "Congratulations on becoming a normal member of our organization." And Lin carefully stowed away the sensing talisman before asking with a curious expression, "There are other types of members?" "Of course, there are also high-level members. Most of them are Tao integration stage, super mighty figures. Supreme members are gods of creation who transcend beyond this continent." Lee Sinew extended a slender finger and waved it in front of Enlin's face with a faint smile. "You're still quite a ways off from becoming a high-level member, so keep up the good work." And Lin took a deep breath. This was the first time he had felt like his wealth was so low. However, it made sense. After all, he was at a completely different level from before. In the past, he had never even heard of a Grandmaster construction, Cultivator, let alone build a house for her. Now that his power level had increased, his horizons had also been broadened, so he was naturally able to come into contact with some powerful people. "Oh, by the way, who are the creator gods and supreme members that you mentioned?" And Lin thought about it for a moment before asking with a curious expression. "Sorry, I have to keep my client's information confidential." Lee Sinew smiled and said, "If there's nothing else, I'll be taking my leave now." After Enlin became a member of her club, even her tone had become a lot gentler. "All right, take care." And Lin didn't try to keep them any longer. Lee Sinew waved a hand with a smile before tearing open a spatial rift and departing from this world. Chapter 754. After bidding farewell to Lee Sinew and Holy Lord Tianu, Enlin and the others turned their attention to the sect again. "Let's take a look around this sect. I didn't get a good look from the bird's eye view, so I'll have to take a look for myself." And Lin beckoned to everyone, and they began to explore the sect together. There was one main palace and 35 branch palaces, all of which were situated on the southern side of the mountain over 10,000 feet tall. They were arranged in a picturesque manner, and they formed a soaring phoenix with the main palace situated on the head of the phoenix. There were 10 main palaces and 1,000 residential palaces, and they were arranged like a dragon that spanned across the entire sect. Furthermore, there was a bright moon lake separating the 2 palaces from the phoenix, making it appear as if a dragon and phoenix were playing with a pearl. It was an extremely scenic sight, and it was also imbued with the concept of harmony between heaven and earth. And Lin and the others were able to see unique scenery from each of the main palaces, as well as a corresponding drill ground. There were 20 residential palaces and 1,000 residential palaces, and all of them were extremely well equipped. And Lin had initially thought that he would only have to build a beautiful house, and he would probably have to buy all of the furniture himself. However, what he didn't think was that he would be able to find all of the necessary daily necessities, as well as many delightful paintings, all of which were inscribed with the words "Maverick Snail." This was extremely astonishing to Lin and the others. Who would have thought that a house could be built with such meticulous care? And there were even paintings personally drawn by a mythological beast. All of this had been completed in less than a day. Just the thought of this was quite terrifying. Everyone walked around the place, and they were all very satisfied to find that it really was as they had imagined. Even though she has a bad temper, she really is a good businessman. And Lin sighed. Big Sister Celestial Maiden is very fierce, but she's also very bossy. I wonder when I'll be able to see her again. Woof. Dubai's expression was also quite forlorn, and his mind was filled with images of that sexy big sister. Let's work hard to earn more money. We'll summon her again when the sect has several tens of millions of spirit stones. And Lin encouraged, we've already completed the first step, so let's move on to the second step, which is to complete the sect protection formation. Sect protection formation? Everyone turned to look at Lin with astonishment etched on their faces. Classmate Lin, a sect protection formation requires a blueprint, energy, and materials. It would be best if a mighty figure personally set it up. Have you prepared all of these? Su Qianyin asked as she blinked her beautiful eyes. That doesn't matter because I have the array board. And Lin laughed. What was a formation plate? It was a person who had fused the supreme comprehension of a certain formation into an artifact. It could be said that a formation plate was a natural formation. If the array disk was placed in the core of the array formation, then it would be able to activate all of the array disk's power. It was equivalent to that person personally arranging the strongest array formation. The array disk you mentioned, whose array disk is it? Su Qianyin tilted her head slightly and asked, It's Great Monarch Changsheng's 99 layers extreme celestial formation disk. And Lin said with a smile, Hiss. Everyone gasped. Lu Qianhuan was also astonished. Holy F *CK. And Lin, you've obtained the signature treasure of the Changsheng Pavilion? I heard that the formation disk is imbued with Great Monarch Changsheng's paramount comprehension of formations. He would even use his own Tao intent to nurture it, so it's a top-grade treasure that can't even be bought with money. How did you get it? A smug smile appeared on Lin's face. Who am I? I'm the famed war god of the celestial court. Great Monarch Changsheng will definitely give me face if I make an appearance. No one believed him, and Lin couldn't be bothered to say anything else. He pulled out a blueprint that was compatible with the formation disk and handed it to Lu Qianhuan. Next, you two should go and inscribe the formation. I don't understand this blueprint, so I'll have to rely on you two. Lu Qianhuan was extremely proficient in formations, and Xiao Zhe and Bai Ling had lived for a long time, so they also had a certain level of understanding in formations. Thus, the three of them began to study the blueprint. With something like a formation disk, everyone only had to follow the blueprint and didn't have to imbue their Tao intent into the formation. After all, no matter how powerful one's Tao intent was, it couldn't compare to Great Monarch Changsheng's. All they had to do was activate the formation that Great Monarch Changsheng had spent a great deal of effort to refine. Tina, who had been woken up countless times, fell asleep again, and Lin, Su Qianyin, and Dubai were extremely bored, and they sat down beside the bright moon lake to look at the swans frolicking around. Oh, right, classmate Lin. This lake was named Bright Moon Lake by the Grandmaster Construction, Cultivator. However, She doesn't have a name for that mountain in the distance. How about we give that mountain a name as well? Su Qianyun pointed at the mountain in the distance with a faint smile on her face. That's easy. We'll call it Bright Moon Mountain. And Lin replied without hesitation. Su Qianyun, Dabai, Celestial Maiden Su, you shouldn't have allowed Big Brother and to name it. Woof. Dabai sighed in exasperation. Haha, after hearing in Lin's words, I actually thought of a name. The Bright Moon Lake is right in front of that mountain, and the mountain gazes up at the moon. Let's call it Full Moon Mountain. Su Qianyun suggested. Full Moon Mountain? Isn't that the mountain in the celestial court? And Lin asked. That's right, then we can make a hot spring on the mountain and call it the Full Moon Lake. That way, I'll be able to come here from time to time after I graduate. Su Qianyun said with a dainty smile, and her dreamy eyes were filled with anticipation. And Lin agreed to Su Qianyun's suggestion with a smile on his face. After all, he had created this sect in the first place so that his friends who had graduated could reconnect with one another. If Su Qianyun liked this, then he would do as she pleased. After a few hours, the bright moon hung high in the night sky. The bright moon was reflected on the surface of the bright moon lake, and the stars were like a dazzling river hanging in the night sky. There was also a dazzling river on the calm surface of the lake, creating a harmonious blend of reality and illusion. The entire heaven and earth had fallen silent, but there was a place on the lakeside that was filled with joyful laughter. And Lin caught a delicious fish from the lake and roasted it with his frying pan. Xiao Zhe, Lu Qianhuan, Su Qianyun, Bai Ling, Dabai, and Lin and Tina ate the delicious roasted fish and sipped on some sweet immortal wine to celebrate the successful establishment of the 4-9 Immortal Sect. It would officially be put to use the next day. Next, we should discuss how to run the sect, right? Xiao Zhe asked. That's right. The first step is to announce the official establishment of the 4-9 Immortal Sect to the entire kingdom of the 9 states. And Lin bit into a crispy and spicy fishtail as he spoke. Haven't many sects come to congratulate us already? Su Qianyun was perplexed. Again, and Lin replied, Everyone. Have you forgotten how we got those 3 million spirit stones? Those sects were only here to congratulate us in advance. Now that we've officially announced the establishment, I'm sure there will be even more sects coming to congratulate us. The first pot of gold for our sect is going to depend on the gifts from those sects. And Lin's words made perfect sense. Everyone's eyes lit up, and they raised their hands in agreement. How could they turn down such a brilliant way to make money quickly? It was just like how some leaders on Earth would throw a bunch of big events for their children's graduations, weddings, and birthdays. Why was that? Wasn't it because it made money quickly? The more they did it, the better. Even though this method had been banned, the cultivation world hadn't ceased to exist. The 4-9 Immortal Sect was one of the top sects in the Purple Star State and a first-rate sect in the Kingdom of the 9 States. If they didn't throw some big events and make some money after the establishment of the sect, they would be letting down their status and status. Everyone agreed to spread the news that the sect's establishment ceremony would be held in 3 days. Chapter 755. The next day, Xianyuan Cheng arrived from the 10,000 Spirits Immortal Sect. An expression of elation appeared on his face when he saw the realm of the fallen phoenix. This was an extremely suitable place for him to cultivate his Tao of myriad spirit Tai Chi. He exclaimed in admiration at the sight of the beautiful 4-9 Immortal Sect. And Lin, it's only been a few days, but you've already found a good place, and even built a house. How did you do it? It's a long story, so I'll keep it short. And Lin smiled. Xianyuan Cheng listened with curiosity on his face. It's all fate. And Lin explained. A short period of silence ensued. Xianyuan Cheng, that's it. And Lin, I'm done. Xianyuan Cheng. This story was so short that he couldn't accept it. Under Xianyuan Cheng's F*King resentful gaze, and Lin began to recount his adventures during this holiday. The story was full of ups and downs, and he had encountered countless miraculous encounters. Xian Yuan Cheng couldn't help but sigh with emotion after listening to Enlin's story. Enlin, you're a man blessed with great opportunities. You encounter earth-shattering events no matter where you go. Would you believe me if I told you that I just want to cultivate peacefully? Enlin asked with a sad expression. Xian Yuan Cheng. Enlin replied with a weary expression. I knew you wouldn't believe me. Xian Yuan Cheng shook his head. No, I'm trying my best to believe you. Enlin. The two of them chatted as they made their way toward the bright moon lake. Bai Ling, Lu Qinhuan, and Xiao Zhe had already begun to set up spell formations around the entire sect according to the 99-fold extreme heavenly spell formation. Xian Yuan Cheng was also quite knowledgeable in the Tao of spell formations, so he also joined in on the construction of the spell formations. Su Qianyan returned to the Greenwood Imperial family to spread the news of the 4 immortal sects' grand ceremony throughout the kingdom of the 9 states. Thus, Enlin and Dabai began to slack off again. The two of them sat on a rock beside the bright moon lake and spaced out. Enlin felt like he had a lot of free time as the sect leader. He had already informed Xiao Hong, Bryce, Tang Shimin, and the others about the sect's founding ceremony, and all of them had promised to come before that day. Sigh. I wonder when Celestial Maiden Xiaolan is coming? Enlin stared blankly at the clear blue sky in the distance. There were clouds of different shapes and sizes drifting through the sky. Ah, I don't know when I'll be able to attain my domain, Lin Master, Enlin said with a bitter expression. Enlin could sense Dabai's anxiety, and he patted Dabai's furry head with a smile. Don't worry, just let nature take its course. No matter what your cultivation base is, I won't turn my back on you. There's a saying that goes, don't abandon your wife. That's roughly what it means. Big brother please don't use idioms to taint our beautiful relationship. Woof. Dabai rolled his eyes. Even though there was a hint of displeasure on his face, he was quite touched and happy in his heart. Right at this moment, a streak of golden flames pierced through the white clouds in the sky before flying toward them from the distance. Enlin raised his head to discover a familiar, yet nostalgic figure. Enlin! A pleasant voice called out to him. A woman in a jade, barley-ink garment descended from the sky like a graceful bird. Her features were as clear as water, and her features were as beautiful as jade. Her disposition was transcendent and transcendent. Yes, she was referring to Xiaolan. She blinked at Enlin with a faint smile. Did you miss me? Enlin didn't say anything. Instead, he gave her a big hug in response. He hugged her soft and warm body and breathed in her unique fragrance. Her hair brushed past his cheek like the gentle caress of a lover. It was a wonderful feeling. Dabai stared blankly at this scene with only one sentence reverberating in his mind. What happened to the saying that don't abandon your wife? This was clearly a case of forgetting your old dog after finding a new one. It was clearly the one who was ridden first. Perhaps it was because she had been hugged for too long. But Su Xiaolan gently pushed Enlin away with a blush on her face. All right, we haven't been apart for that long. Is there a need to be so emotional? You don't know this, but I've been on the brink of death a few times these past few days. I almost thought I'd never see you again. Enlin complained. It's that serious? Su Xiaolan pinched Enlin's face with her slender hand and began to examine Enlin's condition with her divine sense. She then heaved a sigh of relief and asked, What happened? It's a very serious matter. It's a long story, Enlin replied. It's fine. Make it short, Su Xiaolan said. No, I want to tell you slowly. Enlin extended a hand toward Su Xiaolan's delicate hand, which was resting on his cheek, and they strolled along the bright moon lake with a smile on his face. Of course I have to tell you about my heroic deeds. Su Xiaolan glared at Enlin. I knew you'd be like this. The two of them strolled along the lakeside. A white figure stood blankly on the spot, messy in the wind. Dabai suddenly came to his senses and pulled out a golden ball of food from his storage ring before gnawing on it. A burst of energy began to soothe his negative emotions, and his entire body became invigorated. Phew, who would have thought that the dog food inheritance I obtained from the purple star would be my most practical inheritance? Woof! Dabai spoke with a melancholy expression, and Lin held on to Su Xiaolan's hand as he recounted his heroic deeds. He felt like this was even more satisfying than flexing in a fight. Su Xiaolan was also a very good listener and would occasionally point out some shortcomings in battle. For example, when Lin ran into the Divine Mountain and encountered a fork in the road, he could use the Divine Liquid Creation technique to mimic his aura and split up to disrupt his enemy's pursuit. The two of them walked and chatted for a long time. Finally, Lin pulled out the phoenix egg. And Lin smiled. Look, this is little Huang. Su Xiaolan stroked the golden phoenix egg with a dainty smile. Little Huang? It's not even born yet. How do you know it's a female? What if it's little Feng? And Lin immediately shook his head with a smug expression. Haha, you're wrong as well. It's not the phoenix as in phoenix. It's the yellow as in yellow. Doesn't that avoid a conflict of names? How about it? Am I very smart? Su Xiaolan was astonished. Are you sure you're not raising a dog? What a synchronized response, and Lin felt like his heart had been stabbed by a sword. Raising a dog? I already have Dabai. There's really no room for little Huang. Yellow represents nobility. How domineering. Why do you all think this color looks like a dog? Looks like everyone's thinking is as normal as mine. Is the name really that bad? I feel like if you continue to use this name, you'll lose the little phoenix after it's born. And Lin, time passed by slowly. Another day passed by. Little Lang, Bryce, Tang Shimin, Xiao Hong, Xiao Chou, Little Tian, Yao Mingxi, Yao Xiao, Xanju, Zhao Huayin, Lu Debao, Hu Guan, Sun Xinglian, Luo Ziping, Miao Tian, and Zhong Yongyan all arrived at the new sect. The sect's founding ceremony had finally begun. Chapter 756. Purple Star State, Land of the Fallen Phoenix. What was once 1,000 miles of scorched earth had now become a boundless grassland. Grandma, hurry up, don't be late. A little girl in plain clothes with a clean face and a pair of bright and spirited eyes was skipping ahead of them, looking at her grandmother behind her with a smile on her face. Io, I'm getting old. My body can't take it anymore. It's fine if you don't show some concern, but you still have to urge me. An old woman walked forward unhurriedly. She raised her head to look at the end of the grassland, and a faintly discernible immortal space and pavilion could be faintly seen, as if it was a mirage. Humph, those carriages didn't dare to continue halfway. I really shouldn't have given them money. If it weren't for that ox-nosed Taoist priest's ability, I wouldn't believe there would be any so-called immortal fate there. That's a place where the heavenly beings reside. How could they possibly take a fancy to us mortals? The old woman continued to grumble. How do you know if you don't try? The little girl said with a charming smile, without a trace of self-awareness. She looked at the magnificent palace in the distance, with a face full of expectation. Her heart yearned for it, and she closed her eyes unconsciously. She breathed in the air around her, feeling that the air here was sweet. The old woman shook her head helplessly and quickened her pace to catch up. Grandma, hurry up and use the teleportation talisman. We're going to be late. Is the divine traversing talisman supposed to be used so carelessly? That's to save our lives. But Taoist priest Nuno gave us 100. That's enough to save my life 100 times. I can't use it carelessly. If we miss out on the opportunity to become immortals because we can't bear to use the divine Strider talisman, then we'll lose the big one for the small one. The little girl pouted and looked at the old grandma with dissatisfaction. The old woman chuckled. You're speaking as if you'll definitely obtain an immortal fate if you go there. Who gave you such confidence? Taoist priest Nuno gave it to me. The little girl raised her adorable little face and was very confident. The old woman. Rumble at this moment, the ground shook. Roar. A loud roar scared the little girl so much that her face turned pale. They saw 3 extremely huge tigers pulling a beautifully decorated carriage, whizzing past them, madly rushing towards the legendary sect. So powerful. After being given a fright, the little girl looked at the carriage in the distance and patted her chest. Looking at the palace in the distance, she became even more expectant. Rumble. A loud sound came from the sky. The little girl looked up at the sky, and her mouth opened wide. An incomparably huge flying ship, like a giant fish in the sky, broke through the clouds and flew into the distance. Its surface was overflowing with brilliant colors, and its brilliance dyed the sky with colors. One look, and anyone could tell that it was an extraordinary immortal item. Amazing! Are these immortals going to participate in the immortal sect's founding ceremony? The little girl exclaimed. Boom, boom, boom. A few more immortal boats appeared in the clouds and flew toward the legendary place. Every single immortal boat was like a primeval colossal beast, and they emitted a pressure that was difficult to endure. Countless rays of light tore through the air, drawing beautiful rainbows in the sky. These spirit-nurturing stage cultivators were like immortals in the sky, ethereal and graceful. Their destination was the center of the grassland. A flaming flying bull pulled the flying carriage and suddenly charged over the little girl and the old woman. The heat wave it set off, even knocked the 2 people on the ground over. Grandma, are you all right? The little girl ran over to the old woman and helped her up. I'm fine. I have a constitution that can topple over easily. It's just a pity that the cow is too fast. Otherwise, we could have scammed a few spirit stones out of it, the old woman replied with a buoyant grin. The little girl. The 2 of them continued onward, and the grassland gradually became more and more lively. There were immortals flying in the sky, flying ships glowing with brilliant lights, and huge beasts running on the ground. There were countless of them. The little girl's initial shock had also been replaced by numbness. She looked up at the immortal sect in the distance and wiped the sweat from her delicate face. The confident expression on her face had disappeared, and it was replaced by an unconcealable sense of inferiority. All those flying in the sky and running on the ground were immortals, and they were mortals, at the 4-9 immortal sect's founding ceremony. This was a momentous occasion that shook the entire kingdom of the 9 states, and countless sects came to attend. The realm of the fallen phoenix of the Purple Star State was truly being visited by countless immortals, and Lin stood on the rostrum of the 4-9 immortal sect's largest Tao Plaza, and he couldn't help but feel like this was quite a spectacular sight to behold. One immortal ship after another descended from the sky, and one powerful huge beast after another squeezed together due to the lack of space. Look at that black and white bear. It was about to be squashed to death by the mountainous white and brown bears. The 4-9 immortal sect didn't have any underlings at the moment, so Dabai, Xiao Chou, Yao Mingxi, Yao Xiao, Huguan, Tang Shimin, and the others were temporarily responsible for receiving guests. There wasn't much to receive anyway, so all they had to do was accept gifts and record the sects that had come to congratulate them. The representatives from the Greenwood Imperial family were Su Wenjun, Su Xian, and Donghua. Aside from that, all of the first-rate sects in the Purple Star State with return to Void Stage mighty figures among their ranks sent representatives with gifts, and most of them were sect leaders. There was no helping it. A colossus had suddenly appeared in the Purple Star State, so they had to give it some face. There were a total of 8 first-rate sects in the Purple Star State, and aside from the Heavenly Demon sects Taoist Yulang and the Frosty Sun Immortal sect Xuan Yakong, they were already dead and couldn't send any mighty figures. Celestial Maiden Fei Ying, Duan Hunzi by Pingzi, and the others had all come in person. There were a total of 63 first-rate sects in the Kingdom of the 9 States, with return to Void Stage mighty figures among them. 55 first-rate sects had sent representatives with congratulatory gifts, which amounted to 43 return to void stage mighty figures. The Greenwood Imperial family of the Purple Star State, the Coiling Dragon Imperial family of the Stone Dragon State, the Dark Wind Imperial family of the Wind Plain State, the Shinong Imperial family of the Gem State, the Flying Gold Imperial family of the Thunder State, the Qianlu Imperial family of the Spirit Sword State, the Dream Shadow Imperial family of the Ancient Void State, the Flame River Imperial family of the Heavenly River State, and the Great Tang Imperial family of the Bai Hua State. The 9 Imperials had all sent Imperial family members and returned to Void Stage Immortal Generals. Before they knew it, over 50 returned to Void Stage mighty figures had already gathered. This was definitely a terrifying lineup. Even the hosts and Lin and the others were a little dazed by this grand spectacle. After exchanging some pleasantries with the sect leaders of the first-rate sects, and Lin's mouth was parched, and he took a sip of tea before turning to the beautiful woman beside him. Su Qianyin, how did you announce the news? Why did so many cultivators come? Why do I feel like we've gone too far? His original intention was to release the news and attract a wave of sects to come over to congratulate him. Then he could happily earn some congratulatory gift money. However, he didn't think that he would have to make such a big fuss. This had become a super grand ceremony of the Kingdom of the 9 States, and Lin was extremely horrified. At this moment, he finally realized just how powerful the cultivators of the Kingdom of the 9 States were. Setting aside the number of Tao integration stage mighty figures, just the number of powerful beings gathered here was enough to raise a first-rate force like the Holy Glacial Lands or the Dark Marshlands to the ground. How did I announce the news? Su Qianyin blinked as she spoke in a mellow voice. I told you that our immortal sect has several return to void stage mighty figures among our ranks. We have the inheritances of the 4 great sects, the Celestial Court, the Primordial Dragon Tribe, the Fairy Tribe, the Ancient Man Tribe, the Blood Tribe, and the Purple Star Civilization. Our goal is to become the 5th super sect of the Kingdom of the 9 States. Didn't you tell me to attract as many other sects as possible? That's what I told you. And Lin raised his head to look up into the sky. This was a bit of a boast. Chapter 757. However, the news had already been released, so Lin could only grit his teeth and do as he pleased. At the very least, Su Qianyin's slogans were all based on facts and some artistic manipulation, so they weren't **T. Look at the representative of the Ancient Man tribe, Little Lang. In his werewolf form, his aura was vast and mighty, and his return to void stage power was on full display. Then look at the representative of the fairy tribe, Little Na. She possessed the essence of the sun and moon, and her flawless body shimmered under the sun. No one dared to look down on her. Next, let's look at Xiao Zhe, the legendary primordial dragon tribe member. Even though he only had the appearance of a young man, he was like a meditating monk in the face of such a grand occasion. He sat down with his eyes closed in an obvious spot on the Tao Plaza and remained calm and collected, displaying the demeanor of a member of the dragon tribe. Even the liquid flowing from the corner of his mouth was dragon jade, saliva. Next, it was the representative of the blood tribe, Bryce. He transformed into a small sapling and stood proudly in the dirt. Hike. I can't make this up anymore. Many of the visiting sect representatives were already looking at them suspiciously. Their gazes seemed to be saying, I'm afraid we've come to a fake sect. And Lin transmitted his voice to all of his beast pets in disappointment. Where's your show-off attitude? Our sect's dignity has been completely tarnished by you guys. Can't you at least act like a return to void stage mighty figure? His voice had only just fallen when a loud announcement drowned out all of the commotion. The representative of the Vermilion Bird sect, Elder Zhu Yuanzhou, and his entourage have arrived. This was the first minor climax of the Tao Plaza. The 4 great sects of the Kingdom of the 9 States were all extremely powerful sects, even in the context of the entire continent. A middle-aged man with red hair and a beard made his way over to the Dao Plaza with a group of sect disciples. There were many familiar figures among them, and Lin and Su Xiaolan made their way over to them. "Uncle, you're finally here." Su Xiaolan smiled sweetly. "Hello, Uncle." And Lin also chimed in. Zhu Yuanzhou looked at the couple before him with a disgruntled expression. "You too only know how to stir up trouble." And Lin smiled in embarrassment. Su Xiaolan held on to Zhu Yuanzhou's arm and said coquettishly, "What did second uncle say?" "Let me make this clear first. The 4-9 Immortal Sect is the blood, sweat, and tears of Lin and I, and we definitely won't give up on it." Tisk. Zhu Yuanzhou glared at Lin with an enraged expression. "The sect leader has said that you can teach the Vermilion Bird Sect mantras in the 4-9 Immortal Sect, but you can't reveal the core mantras of the sect. Of course, if it's a mental cultivation method that you created yourself, then it's up to you." "Yes, I know this." Su Xiaolan got permission, and the smile on her face couldn't help but widen. The cultivators of the other sects were astounded when they heard the conversation between the two. Previously, they had thought that the 4 great sects' inheritances were just a gimmick. After all, the Tao could not be easily passed down. No top sect would allow their cultivation methods to be used by other sections. Never would he have thought that the 4-9 Immortal Sect would be serious, and the Vermilion Bird Sect had allowed it. That was F*King Bad *SS. Even if they couldn't cultivate the core cultivation methods, the other cultivation methods of the Vermilion Bird Sect were still top-notch. It could be said that just this alone was enough to attract countless prodigies to the 4-9 Immortal Sect. As the sect leader, and Lin was dragged off to the side by Mo Hai, Yang Yuan, Lan Yan, and the others. "I heard that you and Goddess Su can only become Tao partners after 100 years?" Yang Yuan asked with incredulity in his voice. "Bullsh *T. 99 years is all it takes." And Lin retorted, "Everyone, brother and Lin, have you King gone King insane? Do you want to be a saint for 99 years? Don't you know how to strike while the iron is hot?" Mo Hai was astonished. "That doesn't make sense. They're clearly in love, so why would they have to wait so long?" A thought suddenly occurred to Lan Yan. "Could it be that you've been afflicted with some kind of terrifying curse that prevents you from getting erect for 100 years? PFFF. And Lin threw up a mouthful of blood as he begged for mercy. "Please don't heal me." He was scared. This woman's words had struck him with a strong sense of discomfort. After all, he really did almost become a eunuch for 100 years. In the Greenwood Imperial Family Delegation, Su Wenjun sighed with emotion as he looked at the Vermilion Bird Sect delegation. It looks like the 4-9 Immortal Sect really isn't just for show. I wonder if our Imperial family will be happy or worried about such a massive force. Isn't that simple? If Lin marries our Yunlu, that would definitely be a joyous occasion. Su Xian's eyes lit up as he suggested. Su Wenjun rolled his eyes at Su Xian. "You're such a fake, big brother." Not long after that, another loud announcement sounded. The representatives of the mythological beast sect, Bai Xian, and his entourage have arrived. The vast Dao Plaza erupted into another uproar. Bai Xian, one of the 3 immortal beast overlords of the mythological beast sect, had also arrived. This was a major event. "Father, Mother," Dabai pounced overexcitedly and started licking Bai Xian and Chun's faces. Slap. Dabai was slapped to the ground by Bai Xian. "There's so many people here. Be more reserved, woof." Bai Xian snapped, and Lin also made his way over to welcome the mythological beast sect group. The racial barrier made him a little face blind, and he stared at the dogs in front of him with a dumbstruck expression. All of them looked a lot like Dabai. After much difficulty, he finally recognized Dabai's parents, Bai Xian and Chun, as well as Dabai's girlfriend in name, Qinghua. "Dabai, why don't you go lick Jinghua?" And Lin couldn't help but ask, Qing Hua blushed upon hearing this. Dabai chuckled lightly. You want to trick me into going to Jinghua? No way. Slap. Dabai was slapped to the ground by Xian again. If you're a male dog, then you should face reality. Marry a female dog and live a good life. Don't dream about all these unrealistic fantasies. Bai Xian advised with the tone of an experienced person. He then turned to Enlin with a solemn expression. Mr. Enlin, thank you for taking care of me all these years. My child has improved a lot. Furthermore, Dabai can teach the mythological beast sex cultivation methods as the Pavilion Lord. He can teach them however he wants. In any case, he hasn't mastered the core cultivation methods yet. So it's up to him if he can teach any prodigies. And Lin, Father, woof! Dabai was filled with grief and indignation. Should I say, as expected of my biological father, Bai Xian's declaration created another stir on the Dao Plaza. It was quite clear that the mythological beast sect had also allowed their cultivation methods to be taught at the 4-9 Immortal sect. The status of the 4-9 Immortal sect was elevated once again in the hearts of all the sect representatives. However, this was not the end. Soon, the representatives of the 10,000 Spirits Immortal sect also arrived. They were led by the Peak Lord of the Earth Spirit, Peak Bugudan. He was a dark-skinned, middle-aged man, and Enlin had an impression of him. He had also participated in the battle against the Snow Maidens, and he was extremely powerful. Bugudan also conveyed the instructions of sect leader Xianyuanlin that Xianyuan Cheng could teach the 10,000 spirits cultivation method as he saw fit. This restriction was a sign of Xianyuan Cheng's great trust. It meant that he was free to teach the 10,000 spirits cultivation method as he pleased. This was definitely his biological father. All of the sect representatives were envious upon seeing this. Some of the cultivators were even contemplating whether they could leave their original sects and join the 4-9 Immortal sect. Hey, have you guys realized that some of the Pavilion Lords of the 4-9 Immortal sect are extremely F*** important members of the 4 Great Sects? Are there some shady deals going on here? What a terrifying network of connections! Say, the other 3 sects of the 4 Great Sects are here. Do you think the Heaven Sword sect is also related? Gasp! The 4 Great Sects are all here? Could it be that the hype is all true? However, just as all of the sect representatives were discussing spiritedly, an announcement sounded. Sect leader Lu Mingxian of the Heavenly Sword sect and his delegation have arrived. The announcement had only just fallen, and the entire venue was in an uproar. Chapter 758. This announcement really caused a sensation akin to a magnitude 10 earthquake. If the Heavenly Sword sect had only sent a representative, everyone would have been quite surprised, but they could still accept it. However, what no one would have thought was that the sect leader of the Heavenly Sword sect would come in person. This was a Tao integration stage, super mighty figure, a legendary super mighty figure. To think that he would travel thousands of kilometers to attend this sect's inauguration ceremony. Wasn't he giving them too much face? Some of the sword cultivators even began to tear up at the sight of the refined, white-robed man. To sword users, Lu Mingxian was a god, and a cultivation base that they pursued their entire lives. This was for no other reason than the fact that Lu Mingxian was the #1 sword user in the world. This was not a title given to him by the Kingdom of the 9 States. Instead, it was a title that was publicly acknowledged by the entire Tai Chu continent as a peerless sword immortal who had transcended beyond this world. After a brief moment of absent-mindedness, Enlin still made his way over to welcome this super supreme member out of the responsibility of being the sect leader. You're the sect leader of the 4-9 Immortal sect, Enlin. Lu Mingxian wore a smile on his face, and he didn't put on any airs. That's right. Welcome, sect leader Lu Mingxian. Your presence truly brings light to our sect. And Lin also smiled. He had a good impression of this warm, middle-aged man. Lu Mingxian nodded with approval. You really are a young hero. You are the most dazzling among the younger generation of cultivators. By the way, where is my daughter? Before Lin had a chance to react, the sound of light footsteps sounded from behind him. Father, why are you here? Lu Qianhuan's voice was completely devoid of its usual playfulness. Instead, it was as cold as a snow lotus on an icy mountain. A warm smile appeared on Lu Mingxuan's face. Huan, I'm here to see you. You haven't even come back to the sect after graduation, so I came to see how you're doing. If you're trying to persuade me to go back, then forget about it. I've already decided to stay at the 4-9 Immortal Sect, Lu Qianhuan said with a hint of determination in her eyes. If you stay here without a master to guide you, your talent in swordsmanship will be buried. If you return to the sect, I can guarantee that you'll be the first sword immortal to reach the return to void stage in the Kingdom of the 9 States, and you might even surpass me in the future. Lu Mingxian finally revealed his intentions. If you want the 4-9 Immortal Sect to continue to develop, I can arrange for a return to void stage sword immortal from the Heavenly Sword Sect to reside here as the Sword Pavilion Lord. Until now, you still don't know what I want? Lu Qianhuan raised her head, and her bright purple eyes dimmed slightly. There was also a hint of pain in her eyes. Since Huan likes to stay here, just let her be. We should respect her decision. A beautiful woman dressed in palace attire beside Lu Mingxian said. Lu Qianhuan glared at the beautiful woman in the palatial dress. Zhu Shan, I'm talking to my father. It's not your place to interrupt. And Lin was surprised. This was the first time he had seen such a hot-tempered Lu Qianhuan. Huan, don't go overboard. Lu Mingxian scolded. Mingxian, don't blame her, it's all my fault. Zhu Shan tugged on Lu Mingxuan's sleeve with an aggrieved expression. If there's nothing else, I'll be going now, Lu Qianhuan said expressionlessly. She really did turn around to leave. However, she was forcibly held back by Lu Mingxian at this moment. Huan, I'm doing this for your own good. I think you need to calm down before we talk. Lu Mingxuan's brows were tightly furrowed, but his voice was extremely solemn. At this moment, at the gate of the 4-9 Immortal Sect, Tang Shimin was standing at the gate, acting as a gate guard. One sect representative after another flew toward him to examine their invitations. Only with his approval could they enter the 4-9 Immortal Sect's territory and participate in the 4-9 Immortal Sect's grand opening ceremony. There was no helping it. The 4-9 Immortal Sect's territory was only so big, and if all sorts of people were allowed in, the situation would become extremely chaotic. Hence, and Lin had set up a barrier. Only mid-tier sects with soul formation stage powerful beings could receive invitations from the Greenwood Imperial family and participate in the grand opening ceremony. Even though the barrier was set, countless sects still came to attend. One sect after another came to visit, and senior student Tang was completely exhausted. Right at this moment, 2 very special guests appeared before him. Big brother, can we go in? The little girl's voice was very sweet, and her eyes were very large and clear. She had a pair of exquisite features, and even though her clothes were very simple and plain, she was still very adorable. Tang Shimin was a little dumbstruck. The people who had appeared before him were 2 mortals with no cultivation base fluctuations whatsoever. Do you have invitations? Tang Shimin was a little perplexed, but perhaps this was a unique hobby of some sects. Hence, he decided to ask them as a matter of routine. The little girl and the elderly woman looked at each other with embarrassment and disappointment on their faces. Big brother, I don't have an invitation. Can I go in? The little girl looked at Tang Shimin with a pleading expression. Tang Shimin was even more dumbstruck. You don't have an invitation. Why would you suddenly want to come here? You're mortals. 2 mortals had traveled thousands of kilometers to celebrate the establishment of their sect with a group of powerful cultivators. This was F asterisk King Weird. The elderly woman spoke at this moment. We encountered a Taoist priest with a cow nose, and he told us that we have an immortal fate with your sect leader, which is why he asked us to come here. He also said that if your sect leader sees us, he'll definitely bestow upon us an immortal fate. Now, this was interesting. Tang Shimin's eyes lit up, and his gossipy soul burned brightly. Who is the Taoist priest who told you this? The two of them shook their heads with dumbstruck expressions. Tang Shimin, isn't Lin your father? Tang Shimin looked at the little girl with curiosity in his eyes. He was already imagining Lin's romantic soap opera in his mind. The two of them stared at Tang Shimin with confusion on their faces. The little girl then came to her senses and exclaimed excitedly, "So the sect leader's name is Lin?" Tang Shimin, within the 4-9 Immortal Sect, on the Dao Plaza where the celebration was to be held. And Lin was still spectating the drama between Lu Qianhuan and her father, so he couldn't find any time to interject. A 5- or 6-year-old boy chuckled as he chased after a fleeing butterfly. He had even unleashed a simple spell technique to accelerate his speed, but he ran too quickly and crashed into a walking elderly woman. Bam! Thump! The sound of bones exploding erupted, and the elderly woman was knocked flying. Ow! Her body tumbled to the ground, and she clutched her chest as her wrinkled face twisted into a chrysanthemum flower. She wailed in agony, and blood trickled from the corners of her lips. The boy was dumbstruck as he stared blankly at the scene before him. "Grandma!" The little girl screamed and immediately ran toward the elderly woman. She began to sob upon seeing that the elderly woman had sustained severe injuries and was bleeding from the corners of her lips. "Wah! Grandma, are you all right? Don't scare me. This has got nothing to do with me." The boy pointed at the severely wounded elderly woman with a panicked expression. "It's all that elderly woman's fault. I didn't pay attention to where I was and bumped into her lightly. Who would have thought that she would be so easily injured? This has got nothing to do with me." The little girl rushed toward the boy with a hysterical expression. "My grandma is dying. Save my grandma." The boy was given a massive fright, and he abruptly shoved the little girl away. The little girl's body was knocked flying, and her petite body tumbled to the ground, leaving a few bloody gashes on her body. So weak? There are no cultivation base fluctuations. Are you all mortals? The boy came to his senses, but a hint of disdain appeared in his eyes. Mortals deserve to be knocked around like this. The little girl on the ground trembled with pain, indignation, rage, humiliation. She shot a glance at her grandmother, who was in so much pain that she couldn't even speak. The boy was clearly in the wrong, so why? She picked up a rock from the side of the road and hurled it at the boy. She yelled, "So what if you're a cultivator?" The boy froze in place, or rather, he was frightened by the rock that was hurtling toward him. "Impudent!" A female roar erupted. Zhu Shan suddenly appeared before the boy, and she waved a sleeve through the air to instantly pulverize the rock. The terrifying energy continued onward, sweeping toward the little girl. The little girl was petrified. She felt as if she were nothing more than an ant, and she had no chance of resisting. Was this an immortal? Was this a mortal? Tears welled up in her eyes, and her petite body trembled instinctively as she helplessly accepted the cruel fate that was about to befall her. Right at this moment, a white-robed figure suddenly appeared before her. He was so abrupt, yet so reliable. The man also waved a sleeve through the air to dispel the terrifying energy surging toward him. "Are you F*** King retarded? Why are you trying to kill a girl with no cultivation base?" Chapter 759. Zhu Shan's expression darkened slightly. "She wanted to hurt my son. If I had arrived just a second later, my son would have been the one injured. So you're going to kill her?" The white-robed man was none other than Lin, and he shielded the trembling little girl behind him as he spoke in a cold voice. Zhu Shan's brows furrowed slightly, but she didn't even get a chance to say anything before the little boy came to his senses and roared, "A mere mortal wants to hurt the son of the sect leader of our heavenly sword sect? Doesn't she deserve to die?" Boom! A golden light flashed past in Lin's eyes, and as a ripple spread outward, a boundless might suddenly burst forth from his eyes. It was as if the wrath of a god from the 9 heavens had descended upon the boy. Zhu Shan's expression shifted, and she immediately tried to defend herself. However, Lin's spiritual power was far superior to that of a returned to void stage mighty figure, and he had unleashed his divine might technique, so it was not something that a rookie returned to void stage mighty figure like her could defend herself against. Her heart instantly shuddered at the sight of Lin's glare. The little boy was so terrified that he collapsed to the ground as liquid flowed from his crotch. "The adults are talking, so why are you interrupting?" And Lin spoke in an indifferent voice. It's that little boy. He ran over and injured my grandma, then pushed me instead of saving her. Big brother, please save my grandma." The little girl felt as if she were grasping at straws as tears welled up in her eyes, and her voice trembled as she spoke. And Lin glanced at the elderly man who was still lying on the ground, and he immediately identified the extent of his injuries. She was already nearing the end of her lifespan, and her internal organs had been damaged by that collision, so she was in an even more dire situation. All of the sect representatives stared at the scenes unfolding before their eyes with dumbstruck expressions. Everything had happened far too abruptly, and they knew that they shouldn't step in. On one side was the 4-9 Immortal sect, and on the other side was the Heavenly Sword sect. They wouldn't be able to benefit either side, so they might as well just stand by and watch. "Tina, go save her," and Lin instructed. The little fairy immediately flew toward the elderly woman and unleashed an extremely powerful healing technique to quickly heal her injuries. "What's going on?" At this moment, Lu Mingxian walked over. Even though he saw his son peeing all over the ground, his expression didn't change at all. "Mingxian." Tears welled up in Zhu Shan's eyes as she picked up the boy from the ground and comforted him with a pitiable expression. Wenbin was given quite a fright. "It's all my fault for not protecting him. If I had arrived any later, Wenbin would have." And Lin stared at the woman before him with a cold expression. No wonder Lu Qianhuan had called her a seductive B*****. She sure had a lot of drama. Lu Qianhuan walked toward Lin. She glanced at the old woman on the ground and the wounded little girl behind Lin, and a frosty expression appeared on her face as she stared coldly at the boy standing not far away. What happened? It's very simple. Lu Wenbin accidentally bumped into the old woman, refused to apologize, and shoved the little girl. The little girl threw a rock at him, and Zhu Shan appeared in a fit of rage. She shattered the rock and attacked the little girl. If it weren't for sect leader Lin, the little girl would have most likely died. After that, sect leader Lin taught Lu Wenbin a lesson. A male follower of the Heavenly Sword sect explained in a slow voice. As he spoke, his attention was not on anyone. Instead, he was focused on playing with his phone. That's right. He had been playing with his phone the entire time. And Lin was a little surprised. Could this be Lu Qianhuan's first F***king teacher? The aggrieved expression on Zhu Shan's face became even more pronounced upon hearing this. Lu Wenbin recovered from the shock of peeing himself, and he began to bawl his eyes out. He pointed at Lin and sobbed. "Father, that man bullied me. He bullied me. Wah, this kind of person deserves." He didn't even get a chance to finish his sentence before Zhu Shan pinched him on the waist. He deserves to be taught a lesson. Lu Mingxian immediately pulled out a high-rank spirit pill. "Mr. Lin, Wenbin was in the wrong here. Give this spirit pill to that old man, and we'll let this matter rest." Lu Wenbin was instantly displeased to hear this, and he sobbed loudly. "Father, I was scared shitless by that man, and a lowly mortal threw a rock at me. Why are you only accusing me of being in the wrong?" There's no need for the spirit pill. And Lin pointed at the boy in Zhu Shan's arms with a serious expression. Tell that child to apologize to the old woman and the little girl, and we'll let this matter rest. Are you insane? You want me to apologize? Why aren't you apologizing to me? Lu Wenbin yelled. Lu Mingxuan's brows furrowed slightly. Children don't know any better, so why don't we just let this matter rest? I really can't let this matter rest. This is my sect, and I can't just sit back and do nothing. And Lin refused to back down. Everyone was stunned. It was clear that Lu Mingxian had already conceded and was willing to offer medicine to treat the boy, and he had even admitted to his mistake. However, Lin was still unwilling to back down and insisted that Lu Mingxuan's child apologize. Isn't he going too far? That's right, it's just a conflict between some children. Does he really need to go this far? Is this how Lin is supposed to act? The sect leader of the Heavenly Sword sect came to attend the celebration today, but does he really think he's some big shot? Take a step back and you'll see the world. Why doesn't he understand that? He really doesn't understand the bigger picture. Everyone was discussing spiritedly among themselves. Most of them couldn't understand Lin's actions. He didn't know what to do and didn't know when to back down. And Lin couldn't be bothered to respond to them and merely stood there. An enraged expression appeared on Zhu Shan's face. Don't push your luck, Lin. We've already agreed to compensate those two mortals with spirit pills. What else do you want? Do you really think our Heavenly Sword sect is a pushover? And Lin chuckled. Oh, right, you tried to kill that little girl just then, so you have to apologize as well. Lu Mingxian. Zhu Shan's face turned livid with rage. Impudent. You. Impudent. And Lin cut Zhu Shan off with a loud roar. Boom! The divine might technique erupted forth again. However, this time, Lu Mingxian merely waved a sleeve, and the power of the divine might technique vanished into thin air. And Lin faltered slightly before silently pulling out the regal crown from his storage ring. The regal crown was refined by Xiao Tu using the essential blood and spine of a divine dragon. It could unleash boundless dragon might and was a must-have flexing tool. Boom! The divine might technique was activated in conjunction with the regal crown. Roar! An earth-shattering dragon's roar erupted. It was as if a divine dragon were soaring through the heavens, and the might of a divine god erupted forth at the same time. Even though it was only targeted at Zhu Shan, everyone's legs trembled involuntarily, as if they were facing a paramount being. This paramount might was imbued with the power of the divine Tao, and it broke through Lu Mingxuan's aura before invading Zhu Shan's body, upon which her face paled with fright, and her lips trembled uncontrollably. And Lin, is this how you treat a guest of the Heavenly Sword sect? Lu Mingxian was truly enraged this time. His voice was like a divine sword that had been unsheathed from its scabbard, and sword intent soared into the heavens. Why don't you just tell your child to apologize? Is it really that difficult? At the end of the day, you're still looking down on mortals, aren't you? You're bullying an elderly woman and a child with no cultivation base at all right in front of me, and you refuse to apologize. My 4-9 Immortal sect doesn't welcome guests like you. And Lin's expression didn't even waver in the slightest in the face of Lu Mingxuan's might. His words sent shockwaves rippling through the entire Dao Plaza. Countless people stared at Lin in astonishment, unable to understand why he would say something like that. He was telling the sect leader of the Heavenly Sword sect that the Heavenly Sword sect wasn't welcome. Was he King insane? Countless people transmitted their voices to Lin, trying to persuade him to just let this matter rest. There was no need to oppose the Heavenly Sword sect for the sake of two mortals. This wasn't a big deal. Lu Qianhuan asked in a low voice, "Do you know the elderly woman and the little girl?" And Lin shook his head. "I don't." Lu Qianhuan's purple eyes lit up. "Awesome." and Lin looked at Lu Mingxian with an indifferent expression. He was a stubborn man, so there was no need to tell him to look at the bigger picture and look at the bigger picture. In his sect, people had to apologize when they had to. You say Lu Mingxian is bad *SS, so I have to give him some face? Hee, I've even bashed Emperor Zhui. So why should I give Lu Mingxian some face? Chapter 760. The old woman's breathing gradually calmed down. She looked up and saw a fairy that was so beautiful that it didn't seem to be from the mortal world. She was currently releasing a gentle light to heal her body. After being enshrouded by the white light, not only did her body no longer hurt, but she also felt a lot more energetic. Meanwhile, the little girl stood behind Enlin, and she stared at the white-robed man with her clear, black eyes, unwilling to look away. It was that man named Enlin who had protected her. Not only did he protect her, but he had also gotten into a conflict with a very powerful immortal in order to redeem her dignity. Big Brother Immortal, he really is a good person. And Lin's actions created a massive stir. Most people felt like he had gone too far, and there were also many people who felt like he was overestimating himself. Why was he getting into a conflict with the Heavenly Sword sect over such a trivial matter? Was he an idiot? Lu Mingxian was also perplexed. He could control the life and death of countless living beings with just a wave of his hand, and his actions were already gentle enough. How had things escalated to this point? Just for two mortals he didn't know? And Enlin was saying that he wasn't welcome here? Was this an eviction order? Interesting. A smile suddenly appeared on Lu Mingxuan's face. Huan, I don't know why you insist on staying here, but your sect leader really doesn't know what's good for him. Everyone can just take a step back and everything will be fine. Instead, you're fighting over a trivial matter. Do you really think my Heavenly Sword sect is a pushover? Boom! Boundless sword intent soared into the heavens, and the aura of a Tao integration stage mighty figure instantly erupted forth. Everyone was struck by an indescribable power in that instant. The boundless sword intent made them unable to muster up any thoughts of resistance. It was as if they were facing the most exalted master of all swords, and the only thing they could do was to submit to him. A god viewed all living beings as ants. Would he apologize for accidentally killing an ant? Choosing to heal the ant was a merciful act, and choosing to ignore it was also a reasonable choice. Once a Tao integration stage battle erupted, countless innocent lives would be affected. Was Lu Mingxian supposed to apologize to all of those living beings? He had only brought out the spirit pill as a show of respect for Enlin, and Lin didn't know what was good for him, so he wasn't going to swallow his anger. Is it that hard to make your child apologize? No wonder that child grew up to be like this. His family's education is really good. And Lin chuckled coldly. He couldn't understand why a mighty Tao integration stage mighty figure would have such a pathetic child. Whoosh! And Lin was suddenly struck by a bone-chilling sensation. Suddenly, the semi-transparent silhouette of a sword appeared before Lu Mingxian, and the swords of all the surrounding cultivators shook violently. A vast and endless sword, intent seemingly capable of piercing through the sky, shot straight for the essence of the Tao of the sword. When many cultivators saw this, they either felt that it was not worth it, or they sneered with schadenfreude. How could this sect withstand the wrath of a Tao integration stage super mighty figure? Father, stop! Lu Qianhuan's expression shifted as she positioned herself in front of Enlin. And Lin pulled Lu Qianhuan away with a faint smile on his face. This is my territory, so it's not your place to act all high and mighty. He seemed to have sensed Lu Mingxuan's killing intent. Little Lang transformed into his humanoid wolf form and charged toward Enlin. His claws were like sabers as an earth-shattering saber intent burst forth from his body. He was like a primordial beast from the heavenly wolf tribe, and his claws were sharp enough to slice through all things. This was a return to Void Stage, Savage Beast. All the cultivators on the Tao Plaza stared at the scenes unfolding before their eyes with shock. If you want to deal with Giant Enlin, You'll have to get past me first. Tina also charged toward Lin as a boundless holy aura soared into the sky. She held a heart lotus ice sword in her hand, which exuded a chilling aura. Another return to void stage mighty figure! Some cultivators exclaimed. Boom! A humanoid tree descended from the sky as a dangerous light burst forth from its crimson eyes. Roar! A black dragon over 10,000 feet in length at the pinnacle of the return to void intermediate stage suddenly appeared in the sky. Its body obscured the entire sky as boundless dragon might erupted forth, and it glowered at Lu Mingxian with a menacing expression. All of the cultivators on the Dao Plaza were astonished to see for extremely powerful return to void stage mighty figures appear at once. Only now did they truly experience just how powerful the 4-9 Immortal sect was. Some of the sect leaders of the first-rate sects were also staring intently at the scenes unfolding before their very eyes in fear of missing out on any details. Lu Mingxuan's expression shifted slightly, but his voice remained calm and collected. This is the power of the 4-9 Immortal sect? Is this what gives you the right to speak? Boom! Another burst of extremely terrifying power swept forth, and this power was imbued with the boundless power of the divine Tao. A tall and slender woman in a white dress slowly made her way toward them. A faint smile appeared on her face. Why didn't you call me along for the fight? Wah! Beside the woman, a chubby little child with a halo on his head and a pair of green eyes let loose joyful cries as a peerless aura also erupted from his body. The power of the divine Tao of sin and holiness intertwined, striking all of the return to void stage mighty figures, present with a sense of extreme trepidation in their hearts. Bai Ling and the demonic baby had also joined in Lin's team. All of the cultivators on the Dao Plaza were astonished this time. Some of them felt like their legs had given out from under them. Some had sweat pouring down their foreheads, and some were even contemplating fleeing in case they were killed by the shock waves of the battle. The power of the divine Tao. That's the power of the divine Tao. Those two are also from the 4-9 Immortal sect. My God, this is way too terrifying. Who would have thought that the 4-9 Immortal sect would have two return to void final stage mighty figures who have attained the power of the divine Tao? We've truly underestimated this sect, countless cultivators exclaimed in amazement. Only now did they truly understand just how powerful the 4-9 Immortal sect was. Even if a sect of this caliber couldn't contend with the Heavenly Sword sect, it was still not something that they could casually comment on. Even the members of the 9 Imperials were extremely shocked. The power displayed by the 4-9 Immortal sect was already comparable to the overall power of some of the Imperials. Even though there was only a difference of one minor rank between the return to void intermediate stage and the return to void final stage, the gulf between their Tao and power was like an insurmountable chasm. If one were to take a step further, they would be able to attain the power of the divine Tao and unleash power that was close to that of a god. The Imperials were able to rule over an entire state as they had mighty figures who were close to the Tao integration stage among their ranks. And now, the 4-9 Immortal sect had suddenly produced two such mighty figures. How could everyone not be astonished? Lu Mingxuan's expression shifted once again. He clearly didn't expect the 4-9 Immortal sect to have returned to void final stage mighty figures among their ranks. Even though this wasn't as powerful as the Heavenly Sword sect, it was still very powerful. Sect leader Lu, I don't want to fight with you. I just can't stand the sight of you battering an elderly woman to the brink of death and almost killing a little girl. Yet you're not even willing to offer a sincere apology. Hence, please leave. Our 4-9 Immortal sect is too small for a mighty figure like you. And Lin extended a slight bow, but his voice was extremely firm. And Lin was asking for an apology from the elderly woman, and he was asking for an apology? Was that too much to ask? However, Lu Mingxian didn't allow his children or wife to apologize. Instead, it was as if they should be grateful that he had given them a pill. The Heavenly Sword sect really was bad *SS. "Father, that B***TCH dared to provoke you. Beat him to death." Lu Wenbin gritted his teeth and waved his fists as he glared at Enlin. Lu Mingxian looked at Lu Wenbin, but his eyes didn't contain any might or might. However, Lu Wenbin felt a chill run down his spine, and he immediately shut his mouth. "Enlin, your 4-9 immortal sect is indeed quite good. However, are you sure you have the right to make our Heavenly Sword sect leave over something as trivial as this?" Lu Mingxian chuckled. "If you don't want to leave, then apologize," Enlin said. Lu Mingxian shook his head. "Everyone has a temper. Forgive me for being blunt, but no matter how many people you have, I can still take care of them all. I can come and go as I please in this sect of yours. No one can chase me away." Boom! His sword intent erupted, and it was as if it could slice through the entire world. His sword intent proliferated outward, and just as aura alone overwhelmed the auras of all the 4-9 immortal sect mighty figures. "You're insane." And Lin stepped forward as countless worlds flashed before his eyes. 99-fold extreme, heavenly spell formation, activate. Chapter 761. As Enlin's foot landed, the world suddenly changed. In an area with a radius of 100 miles, an incomparably huge array formation suddenly began to operate. Everyone raised their heads to look at the sky with a look of horror on their faces. The sky changed. 99 layers of the sky stacked on top of each other, releasing boundless heavenly might. The first layer of the sky was the Zongdong heavens. There were no stars rotating, and there was qi without form. Black astral winds swept through thousands of kilometers in the blink of an eye, carrying with them the power to destroy all things. If a soul formation cultivator were to come into contact with this wind, they would instantly be shredded to dust. Within Zongdong Tian, the sky was filled with 9 layers of killing intent. Just these 10 heavenly layers were enough to severely wound a return to void stage mighty figure. The second layer of the sky was the eternal, tranquil sky. It stripped away one's senses and returned everything to nothingness. It possessed a boundless sealing power, and any return to void stage mighty figures who fell into this sky would lose all of their senses and experience indescribable sensory torture. Within the calm sky, there was the eye killer sky, which allowed the enemy to see countless terrifying things. The ear killer sky, which allowed the enemy to hear the most ear-piercing sounds in the world. The nose killer sky, the tongue killer sky, the skin killer sky, the soul killer sky. The third layer was the sky of stars. The fourth layer was the sky of time. The fifth layer was the sky of confusion. The sixth layer was the sky of sun. The seventh layer was the sky of great white. The eighth layer was the sky of stars. And the ninth layer was the sky of moon. There were 9 great heavens and 90 lesser heavens, and each and every one of these heavens possessed the power to slay a return to void stage mighty figure. There were a total of 99 layers of heavens in place of the original sky. They rotated back and forth, becoming one, rushing boundlessly. Countless cultivators on the Dao Plaza collapsed to the ground in fear. Even the return to void stage mighty figures were trembling uncontrollably as cold sweat began to pour from their foreheads. Their intuition told them that if Enlin wanted to kill them with such a terrifying array formation, they would definitely die. They might be able to escape the first layer of heaven, but could they escape the 99 layers of heaven? Zhu Shan and Lu Wenbin's faces had also turned pale with fright. If it weren't for Lu Mingxuan's aura protecting them, they would have most likely collapsed to the ground already. However, even with the protection of the aura, they were not much better off. The 99 layers of heaven contained great power and terror. Just a single glance was enough to make their minds tremble in fear. The little boy cried out for his father. Lu Mingxian raised his head to look at the terrifying sky that enveloped a radius of 50 kilometers, and his expression changed drastically. He actually felt a heart-palpitating aura from the formation. The power of this array formation could pose a threat to him. The 99 extreme heavenly array formation seized the fortune of heaven and earth, and its power was boundless. When the spell formation was activated to its peak, it could defend against the attacks of Tao integration stage super mighty figures and suppress Tao integration stage super mighty figures from within. This was the true trump card of the 4-9 Immortal Sect. It was the undisputed sect protection formation of the 4-9 Immortal Sect. I told you this is my territory. You have no right to act tough here. And Lin's eyes shone with golden might, and his voice was like a decree from the heavens, causing the 99 heavens to rumble. The cultivators on the dojo were trembling, as if they were enduring the fury of the heavens. Lu Mingxuan's translucent, heavenly sword trembled slightly, as if it was trembling in excitement. Just like that, the two of them confronted each other, and the atmosphere was extremely tense. Although the representatives of the major sects were watching from the sidelines, they couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. After what seemed like an eternity, Lu Mingxian waved one hand and put away the heavenly sword, completely withdrawing its power. And Lin also withdrew his spell formation upon seeing this. The 99 heavens in the sky began to dissipate, and a clear blue sky reappeared. The sunlight shone down upon the 4-9 Immortal Sect, and all of the cultivators on the dojo were almost moved to tears. My God, peace is so good. Thank God they didn't fight. Otherwise, they would all be dead meat. Lu Mingxian looked at Enlin with a deep gaze before turning to look at the elderly woman and little girl behind Enlin. The trump cards that Enlin had displayed had astonished him. However, what was even more astonishing to him was that Enlin was willing to use all of his trump cards to fight him for the sake of these two mortals. Why? Lu Mingxian was perplexed. This is my territory. You've pissed me off. It's as simple as that. And Lin replied in a very honest manner. Lu Mingxian. This was a super mighty figure who stood proudly on this continent, but his expression was a little peculiar at this moment. He was hesitating. In the end, he sighed softly and glanced at Lu Qinhuan. Then he strode toward the gate. Let's go. All of the Heavenly Sword sect entourage stared at his departing figure with incredulity in their eyes. What was going on? Was their sect leader really going to leave just like that? Zhu Shan's features were deathly pale, and it was as if she had lost her soul as she silently trailed behind Lu Mingxian. Lu Wenbin yelled, but no sound came out of his mouth. Sect leader Lu, I have a word of advice, and Lin suddenly said. Lu Mingxuan's footsteps faltered. Keep your child in check. He's already so arrogant and lawless at such a young age. If things continue like this, he's going to be slapped in the face by some heaven-defying main character sooner or later, and he might even die along the way. When that time comes, it'll be too late to salvage the situation. And Lin spoke. Lu Mingxian, Zhu Shan, all of the onlookers. Lu Wenbin was dumbstruck. Lu Mingxian harumphed coldly and didn't say anything else as he continued toward the exit. Thus, the Heavenly Sword sect leader and his entourage left. No, to put it more accurately, they had been chased away by Enlin. I'm sorry, Enlin. I've caused you so much trouble. Lu Qinhuan wore a guilty expression as she stared at Enlin's profile with her bright purple eyes. It's all right, it's not your fault. Enlin turned to Lu Qinhuan with a warm smile on his face. However, your family sure is a bunch of weirdos. Zhu Shan is a drama queen, Wenbin is a brat, and your father is a bit of a chinibu. A smile appeared on Lu Qinhuan's face upon hearing Enlin's words. That's why I say, I really don't want to go back to a family like this. It's so tiring. When everyone turned to look at Enlin again, there was no longer any disdain or confusion in their eyes. Instead, there was only a deep sense of awe and veneration. For a man to challenge a massive beast in order to save two little white rabbits, people would call him a stupid C** and T for overestimating himself. However, when that man killed or chased away the massive beast in order to save two little white rabbits, people would only yell at him for being a bad *SS. They would yell at how terrifying he was. As for why you said it was because of 2 little white rabbits, who would care about that? For example, many of the female cultivators were just cursing at Lin for being a stupid C*NT, but now their expressions were filled with admiration and veneration. Some of them even felt that Lin was so manly, so kind, and so mighty for daring to challenge a Tao integration stage super mighty figure in order to save 2 mortals. At this moment, no sect dared to look down on the 4-9 Immortal sect. This was a sect that dared to challenge the Heavenly Sword sect and chase away Lu Mingxian, who dared to look down on them. This included the 9 Imperials, as well as the representatives of the 3 great sects aside from the Heavenly Sword sect. Some of them were already secretly communicating with one another through voice transmission, discussing whether they should add more gifts or not. This is a super coattail. We have to seize this opportunity. But won't we incur the wrath of the Heavenly Sword sect by sucking up to the 4-9 Immortal sect like this? After all, the 2 sects are already on bad terms. That's true. If the Heavenly Sword sect decides to come after us, we'll be implicated, don't worry. Aside from the Heavenly Sword sect, the other 3 great sects are on such good terms with the 4-9 Immortal sect. What can the Heavenly Sword sect do? Just as everyone was discussing spiritedly among themselves, another announcement sounded. Celestial Maiden Tianyu of the Celestial Court and her delegation have arrived. Chapter 762. A woman in a plain Taoist robe with a transcendent aura slowly made her way toward Lin. Her appearance attracted the attention of all of the cultivators on the Tao Plaza. It couldn't be helped. The power behind her was simply too awe-inspiring. The Celestial Court ruled over the human race of the Kingdom of the 9 States, and was even more powerful than the 4 great sections. Even in the entire Tai Chu continent, where there were countless tribes, it was still one of the most powerful forces. This was Celestial Maiden Tianyu, and even though none of the cultivators had seen her before, they had all heard of her. She was the 7th daughter of the Celestial Darch, and she was also his most beloved daughter. Her arrival was a clear indication of the attitude of the Celestial Court. Even the Celestial Court has come to congratulate them. This 4-9 Immortal sect sure is something. With the support of the Celestial Court, the Heavenly Sword sect is nothing. Hurry, tell them to bring more gifts. Tell them that the gifts from before haven't all arrived yet. All of the cultivators present thought quickly, and the status of the 4-9 Immortal sect in their hearts was elevated once again. Even if all of the sects didn't want to curry favor with the 4-9 Immortal sect, they weren't going to provoke it. And Lin, that was a great show just then, as expected of the little war god of the Celestial Court. A graceful smile appeared on Lin Junjun's face, as if she were a woman who had just walked out from a Jiangnan painting. She didn't forget to mention the little war god as she spoke, and she really was a smooth talker for the Celestial Court. Were you nearby just then? And Lin asked. That's right, I was nearby, but I didn't want to disturb you when you were flexing. Lin Junjun replied in a truthful manner. And Lin, she really didn't have to be so blunt. The 4-9 Immortal Sect's foundation really did surprise me. After that, I saw you bring out our Celestial Court's prized treasure, the Formation Disc, and it was so powerful that even the number 1 Sword Immortal was scared away. Lin Junjun's eyes lit up as she offered words of praise, and Lin's face darkened. They were praising the Celestial Court again. Was there an end to it? At this moment, Dabai ran over to save the day. Big brother you were so cool just then. In the face of a super mighty figure of the Tao integration stage, the number 1 Sword Immortal on the continent, he was still as calm and collected as ever. Furthermore, he retaliated in a powerful manner, forcing his opponent to retreat with his tail between his legs. Such a peerless prodigy, no wonder he's our sect leader. Woof! It's just SO. It's just the basics. Don't make a fuss about it. And Lin smiled modestly. This rhythm is right. This is the correct rhythm for praising. Lin Junjun rolled her eyes adorably. At this moment, the little girl behind and Lin stared blankly at the scene in front of her. The elderly woman's expression also shifted slightly. She rubbed her murky eyes before turning to look at Lin and Dabai again, and her mouth gaped open slightly. When they first saw Lin, they didn't think of him in a certain direction due to his graceful and domineering demeanor. However, when Dabai appeared in their field of vision, a white-robed man and a huge white dog, the fragments of their memories finally became clear. That's right, that figure had disappeared into the light of the setting sun and had been branded into her mind. The little girl stared at Lin with her clear, black eyes, and her petite lips parted slightly. She wanted to call out to Lin, but she was a little conflicted and hesitant. In the end, she mustered up her courage and spoke in a soft, trembling voice. Dog riding hero! The little girl's voice was a little soft, but everyone present was a cultivator, so there was no way that they couldn't hear her. Dabai was particularly sensitive to the term dog riding, while Lin was particularly sensitive to the term hero. Thus, the two of them turned to look at the little girl at the same time. Little girl, are you calling me? And Lin asked with a smile. Big brother, and this little girl looks a little familiar, woof. Dabai's big, round eyes lit up. You beast! You won't even let a little girl off the hook. And Lin was filled with righteous indignation toward Dabai's overzealous behavior. The little girl stared at Lin with an excited expression on her face. Dog riding hero, it's me. Back then, my grandma and I tricked you into giving you 200 spirit stones. But you gave me 500 spirit stones. As the little girl spoke, she suddenly couldn't say anything else. Tears the size of beans kept falling down. That's right, meeting an old friend was something to be happy about. However, what if the little girl had tried to scam him out of his money? Was that really something to be happy about? Only by recounting this incident would Lin recall their past. A sense of guilt welled up in the little girl's heart. The little girl kept wiping away her tears as she stuttered. Wah! I, dog riding hero, you're so good to me. But I treated you like this. I'm so bad, wah. At this moment, the little girl suddenly received a warm hug, and Lin picked the little girl up and chuckled. Oh, so you're that little girl from the Wind Plain State. You're getting prettier and prettier. Those 500 spirit stones were for your grandma's treatment. I'm relieved to see that your grandma is so healthy. But the little girl still wanted to say something. However, and Lin placed his index finger on the little girl's mouth. I'm so powerful. How could I not know about your situation? That money was for your grandma's treatment, understand? The little girl's eyes turned red as tears rolled down her face. Big brother, you're so nice. All of the onlookers marveled at the miraculous nature of fate upon seeing this. Su Xiaolan, who was standing among the Vermilion Bird Sect representatives, clicked her tongue in wonder. I didn't know that Lin could flirt with a little girl like this. 500 spirit stones for a little girl's heart. This is definitely not a bad deal. Lan Yan laughed heartily. Hey, Xiaolan, you're not jealous of a little girl, are you? Su Xiaolan glared at Lan Yan. What nonsense are you spouting? At this moment, Mo Hai added fuel to the fire. Xiaolan, you have to feel the danger. You and Lin made that 100-year promise. By then, this little girl will have grown up, right? Lan Yan chimed in. That little girl was already so lively when she was young. How bad will she be when she grows up? And Lin gave her spirit stones when she was in danger, and now he's even mobilized the entire sect against the Heavenly Sword sect for her. TSK, TSK, TSK. This little girl will probably never forget this. Perhaps she'll be dead set on Lin for the rest of her life. Are you sure you're not worried? Su Xiaolan's lips twitched. Now that you mention it, I'm starting to feel a sense of urgency. Everyone burst into laughter. Su Xiaolan, however, was a little disconsolate. Was the 100-year promise a little too unreasonable? Should she shorten the time limit? Then, She shook her head and stared at the man in the distance, with a confident smile on her face. She mumbled to herself, "Seriously, why am I thinking so much? Do you think I don't trust in Lin? It's normal for outstanding men to be liked by others, but the one he likes is me." And Lin was still holding the little girl in his arms with a smile. "By the way, why did you suddenly decide to come here?" He was almost certain that the little girl had only recognized him after coming here. It was far too strange for two mortals to suddenly come here. It's an old Taoist priest with a nose like a cow. He told me that there's an immortal opportunity here," the little girl replied. "A Taoist priest with a nose like a cow?" And Lin couldn't imagine what that would look like. "Is there any other information? For example, what's his name and what sect he's from?" The little girl shook her head with a confused expression. "I don't know. I only know that he can fly and is very powerful. He said that after his divination there would be a great immortal opportunity for me here, so I came." And Lin immediately felt that the ox-nosed Taoist priest was too awesome. No one else should know about what happened back then. The old Taoist priest calculated with his fingers, and he was able to extend this fate. However, and Lin wasn't someone who would fuss too much. He quite liked this little girl, and that was enough for him. He asked gently, "Little girl, what's your name?" "I'm Yiling," the little girl said excitedly, as if she finally had a chance to introduce herself. Then she pointed at the old woman beside her. "Grandma is Shan Rushuan." "Hello, I'm Lin," and Lin said with a smile, Big Brother and Lin." The little girl smiled sweetly and looked exceptionally adorable. Chapter 763. And Lin arranged for Yi Ling and Shan Rushuan to be seated in the VIP section. The conflict between the Heavenly Sword sect and the 4-9 Immortal sect was still a hot topic among all of the sections. However, it was extremely beneficial to the 4-9 Immortal sect's reputation. At the very least, the vast majority of the sect representatives already viewed the 4-9 Immortal sect as equal to the 9 Imperials. Many of the sect leaders conversed with Lin in an extremely respectful manner, and Lin was a little unaccustomed to this. There was even a return to void stage Taoist priest who referred to him as Senior Lin, and Lin was dumbstruck upon hearing this. "What the F*** CK? Your cultivation base is higher than mine, and you're older than me. So why are you referring to me as Senior?" And Lin immediately turned down this form of address, but the Taoist priest insisted, saying that anyone who dared to oppose the number 1 sword immortal on the continent had to be a role model for their generation. And Lin couldn't say anything more. All he wanted was for the Taoist priest to be happy. The 4-9 Immortal sect's inauguration ceremony was about to commence, and all of the major sects of the Kingdom of the 9 States had already arrived. The representatives of the Heavenly Court, the 3 super sects, the 9 imperial families, the 55 first-rate sects, and over 500 large sects were gathered on the vast Taoist plaza, paved with dark green jade stones. In total, there were over 10,000 powerful cultivators with lofty statuses. And Lin made his way onto the Tao platform and looked at the tens of thousands of sect representatives from all over the Kingdom of the 9 States, and a sense of pride welled up in his heart. "Look, these are all cultivators who have come to congratulate my new sect." And Lin stood on the Tao platform with his white robe fluttering in the wind. His eyes were bright, and his black hair danced in the wind, giving him a transcendent aura. Everyone was looking at him. Many of the female cultivators stared at the man on the platform with infatuation in their eyes. Even the male cultivators were amazed and envious, feeling that this was how a real man should be. At this moment, Lin was the most dazzling, not only because of his status, but also because of his strength and courage. And Lin cleared his throat and began his sect inauguration speech. First of all, he wanted to thank the various sects for taking the time out of their busy schedules to come here to congratulate him. After all, they were here to give him money. Of course, he had to thank them properly. After that, It was time to explain the 4-9 immortal sect's founding philosophy. And Lin used to hate listening to leaders speak. That was because leaders were boring and full of nonsense. However, it was time for him to tell it himself. He suddenly realized that the feeling of speaking in front of tens of thousands of people was really great. Can you imagine? The feeling of tens of thousands of powerful cultivators staring at you and listening to you speak. Even if what you said was nonsense, it was still very pleasurable. After he finished his speech, the audience applauded warmly, and Lin listened to the applause and narrowed his eyes in happiness. It was not that he was boasting, but if he was given a chance, he could talk nonsense for several days straight. He finally understood why leaders in the past were able to talk so enthusiastically on stage. The feeling of being listened to by tens of thousands of people was really exhilarating. And Lin paused momentarily before continuing. Next, I will talk about the core values of the 4-9 immortal sect. Prosperity, democracy, civility, harmony, freedom, equality, justice, the rule of law, love for the sect, dedication, integrity, and friendliness. All of the core members of the 4-9 immortal sect wore smiles on their faces. The tens of thousands of sect representatives were all dumbstruck. This is the world of cultivators. Could it be that something strange had snuck in? And Lin continued, Next, we will talk about prosperity. Wealth and resources are the foundation of a sect. So our sect will do everything in its power to develop and grow. We will strive to have more spirit stones, more magic treasures, more powerful cultivation methods, and more powerful disciples than others. The 4-9 immortal sect's goal is to become the most powerful sect in the world. Clatter Clatter, Lu Qianhuan, Su Xiaolan, Xianyuan Cheng, Su Qianyan, and all of the core members of the sect applauded with all their might. The tens of thousands of sect representatives were all dumbstruck, and all of them clapped along with Lin. So, this was what prosperity meant. The second is democracy. The 4-9 immortal sect is not a sect where the sect leader makes all the decisions. Instead, we use a system where all of the pavilion lords and elders vote together on important matters. The third is civility. We don't bully mortals, we don't bully the weak, we uphold justice and we live a civilized society. The fourth is harmony. We don't provoke others, but if anyone dares to provoke us, the 4-9 immortal sect will beat them to death. The fifth is freedom. The 4-9 immortal sect has the freedom to do whatever we want. As long as it's not an atrocity, I hope all of you sects won't meddle in our business. Otherwise, the 4-9 immortal sect will beat you up as well. The sixth is equality. Several dozen well-known reporters from the Kingdom of the 9 States recorded Lin's speech, and they became more and more excited as they wrote. These core values were amazing. His domineering and advanced ideals would definitely stir up waves across the entire continent. After that, Lin elaborated on the core values of fairness, rule of law, love for the sect, dedication, honesty, and friendliness. He elaborated on all of the core values, including the values of the outside world, the values of the sect, and the values of the sect's members. His speech was extremely detailed, and everyone was astonished by his words. But at the same time, they were also able to sense how special this new sect was. After Lin's speech, a burst of raucous applause erupted from below the stage. Bai Ling, Tang Shimin, and the other core members of the sect all wore gratified smiles on their faces. Many of the sect representatives were also completely convinced, and their opinion of the 4-9 immortal sect was completely renewed. Some of the female cultivators looked up at the white-robed man on the stage with reverence and admiration in their eyes. In their hearts, Lin was the domineering sect leader. They had already imagined a series of stories about the domineering sect leader falling in love with them. A faint smile appeared on Lin Junjun's face. Isn't the core values of the 4-9 immortal sect a little too domineering? Putting aside his strength for now, his philosophy was already as if he was the only one in the world. Only someone as shameless as Lin would dare to announce these core values in front of all of the sects in the Kingdom of the Nine States. And Lin is a perfect match for the sect leader of the 4-9 Immortal sect. Another celestial court follower nodded in agreement. All of the other sects were also discussing this new sect in hushed voices. If any other small sect were to announce these core values, they would definitely be ridiculed for being stupid C***NTS. However, the 4-9 Immortal sect was too powerful, so all of the discussions were either filled with mockery or anticipation. Some of the smaller sects were even discussing the possibility of the 4-9 Immortal sect becoming the #1 sect in the world, which was naturally mocked by the other sect representatives. They hadn't even set foot on the ground yet, and they were already dreaming of ascending to the heavens and standing shoulder to shoulder with the sun. I hereby announce the establishment of the 4-9 Immortal sect. In that instant, applause erupted throughout the entire heavens. Boom! A rainbow light began to illuminate the entire sky. It was as if it had been triggered by some kind of power. Bursts of auspicious energy rose up from the ground, and celestial music reverberated in the air as dragons and phoenixes danced in the air. Golden flaming feathers fell from the sky like flower petals, creating a spectacular sight. Blue lightning bloomed in the sky, rumbling like the roar of firecrackers. All of the cultivators raised their heads to look up at the miraculous scenes unfolding in front of them. The atmosphere of an immortal sect had reached its pinnacle at this moment. The 4-9 Immortal sect was officially established under the witness of several hundred sects. Chapter 764. Su Xiaolan tucked a few strands of hair behind her ear as she looked up at the dazzling phenomena in the sky, and a smile appeared on her face. This was the sect that she and Enlin had founded together. She was sure that they would continue to live happily in this sect for a long time to come. Next up was the military parade. Tui. It should be said that it was time to introduce the leaders of the sect. All of the core members of the 4-9 Immortal sect took the stage. There were 10 pavilions in the sect, namely Su Xiaolan's Flame Pavilion, Lu Qianwan's Sword Pavilion, Xian Yuancheng's Spirit Pavilion, Su Qianyun's Moon Pavilion, Xiao Zhe's Dragon Pavilion, Dabai's Beast Pavilion, Little Lang's Man Pavilion, Tina's Realm Pavilion, Bryce's Blood Pavilion, and Bai Ling's Purple Star Pavilion. All of the sect representatives were given a massive fright by the types of inheritances each sect had to offer. The inheritances of the 4 great sects, the Blood Tribe, the Celestial Court, and the Moon Pavilion, were all renowned inheritances that were enough to shock them. However, the inheritances of the Primordial Dragon Tribe, the inheritances of the Fairy Tribe, the inheritances of the Man Tribe, and the inheritances of the Purple Star Civilization were extremely powerful. It could be said that any one of the 10 pavilions could easily create a first-rate sect in the Kingdom of the 9 States. After the pavilion lords took the stage, the sect elders of the same rank as the pavilion lords also took the stage. Tang Shimin, Xiao Hong, Xiao Chou, Little Tian, and Lin Junjun also took the stage. Everyone was dumbstruck once again. Gasp. What's going on? The daughter of the Celestial Darch is an elder of the 4-9 Immortal sect? It looks like we underestimated the relationship between the Celestial Court and the 4-9 Immortal sect. We're really in the clear now. Who would dare to mess with the 4-9 Immortal sect? Countless cultivators began to discuss spiritedly among themselves as they looked at the 4-9 Immortal sect members with awe and veneration in their eyes. A graceful woman in a plain Taoist robe stood on the stage with a warm smile on her face. She was like a tranquil and graceful celestial maiden from a painting, and many cultivators were entranced by her beauty. Hey, have you noticed? There are so many exquisite beauties in the 4-9 Immortal sect. That's true. Women of this level are as rare as phoenix feathers and Qilin horns in the entire Kingdom of the 9 States. But there are a few of them here, and Lin is truly enviable. There are also a lot of handsome guys. Aside from the average-looking Tang Shimin, all the other men are pretty good-looking, especially Xian Yuancheng. He's so handsome. After that, it was time to introduce the little elder of the sect. Yao Mingxi, Yao Xiao, Xian Zhu, Zhao Huayin, Huguan, Lu Debao, Miao Tian, Luo Ziping, Sun Xinglian, and Zhong Yongyan served as the minor elders. After that, it was time for the official disciple introduction. There was only one disciple, Yiling. The little girl stood nervously on the Dao platform until her white and tender little hand was held by Lin's big and warm hands. Only then did the tension disappear a lot. She could feel the waves of applause from the audience, and she couldn't help but smile radiantly as she looked at Lin, who was clearly elated and proud of himself. She was the first disciple of the 4-9 Immortal sect, so she was very special. Not only was she a child, but she was also immortal with no cultivation base at all. Due to some mysterious and miraculous fate, she was connected to the 4-9 Immortal sect. Just like that, the sect was complete. Not only did it have a leader, but it also had a disciple. The speech at the founding ceremony concluded. After that, it was time for a banquet and a series of small talk. This was quite a boring process. After walking around for a while, Lin started chatting with a few of his old acquaintances. He followed Xiaolan to the Vermilion Bird Sect's representative group to meet with Mo Hai, Yang Yuan, Lan Yan, and the others. Lin told them about Shangguan Yi's recent situation, including his encounter with her in the ancient Tai Chu realm, the Snow Maiden's protection, and the change in her bloodline. Everyone sighed with emotion upon hearing this. Fate was always so unpredictable. Sigh, Sister Shangguan Yi is so unlucky. Why does she have to bear all of the hardships and pain by herself? Lan Yan bit down on her lower lip. She recalled all of their interactions in the past, and a wistful expression appeared on her face. Don't be afraid. Everything will turn for the better. I heard that an extremely terrifying environmental disaster occurred in the holy glacial lands, and the Snow Maidens are planning to move their holy domain elsewhere, Yang Yuan said. He was already an elder of the Vermilion Bird sect, so he was quite well informed. And Lin's interest was immediately piqued. Where are they planning to move their holy domain to? Yang Yuan shook his head. I'm not sure. Their original plan was to find a fragment of the realm core in the ancient Tai Chu realm, then establish a small world as their territory. Unfortunately, not only were they unable to find the fragment of the realm core, but even the realm essence crystals were pitifully scarce, so they had no choice but to look elsewhere. And Lin rubbed the tip of his nose. The incident with the realm essence crystals was probably his fault. After all, he had robbed the storage rings of a few soul formation stage snow maidens, and a few returned to void stage snow maidens. The snow maidens must be missing him. After chatting with everyone from the Vermilion Bird sect for a while, he made his way toward the mythological beast sect. He then saw a few Dabai frolicking around before silently walking away. That was a paradise for dogs. It wasn't appropriate for him to go there, as he would be licked all over. And Lin turned toward the Greenwood Imperial family and met the great scientist of the Greenwood Imperial family, Professor Yang. Professor Yang was the one who had helped create the energy cores for Gundam 1 and Gundam 2, and he was a great help to Lin. Professor Yang rubbed his hands together as he looked toward Bai Ling's direction, as if he were looking at some kind of treasure. And Lin almost thought that Professor Yang had taken a liking to Bai Ling. After asking around, he found out that Professor Yang wanted to have a scientific exchange with Bai Ling, and Lin couldn't decide on this, so he had to ask Bai Ling first. After that, Lin went to the 10,000 Spirits Immortal sect to see Kuang Ri and Tang Xiuan. Kuang Ri was still the same, and he wore an odd expression on his face. Tang Xiuan, on the other hand, had become a lot livelier, and she no longer spoke in a weird manner. And Lin, who would have thought that you'd change so much in the blink of an eye? I felt like I was in a dream when I watched you give a speech on stage. Tang Xiuan wore a carefree smile on her face, as if she were a friend, and she was speaking enviously. And Lin smiled modestly. I've had a lot of opportunities recently, and I'm starting to regret creating this sect. I just wanted to have some fun, but I didn't expect to shock the entire kingdom of the 9 states so quickly. I suddenly feel like there's a heavy burden on my shoulders. It's so stressful. Tang Shu, you really haven't changed. And Lin laughed heartily. It's very important to stay true to yourself. I've always been this simple and honest. Tang Shiwan nodded with a smile. No, you've always been this good at flexing. The two chatted for a while longer before Enlin took his leave. Tang Shiwan looked at Enlin's departing figure and silently put away the jade pendant in her hand. She recalled the conversation they had in the bamboo forest. No one knew where love began, and no one knew where it ended. Some fates could be continued, but some fates could only change with the passage of time, carving out a huge ravine in the ground that was difficult to cross. Tang Shiwan wore a carefree smile as she looked at Enlin's departing figure and said goodbye in her heart. Chapter 765. The 4-9 Immortal Sects celebration lasted for an entire day. Regardless of whether it was day or night, there were always singers and dancers performing on stage. Over 10,000 sect cultivators chatted with one another on the sidelines. At night, all types of spell techniques and fireworks blossomed, lighting up the night sky with a vibrant glow. After a night of revelry, all of the sect representatives bade farewell the next day, and Lin gathered all of the 4-9 Immortal Sect members in the main palace to discuss future developments. The sect leader, 10 pavilion lords, and 5 elders gathered around a large round table. 10 young elders and 1 disciple sat on a small stool and listened obediently. Shan Rushuan went to cook, and Lin called out the sect's mascot, Fortune Beckoning Wong, the Beast Pavilion Lord Dabai, and announced the gifts they had received during the ceremony. Dabai clapped his paws together and placed the 10 high-rank storage rings onto the round table. He cleared his throat and spoke with a mature expression. Elder Tang and I counted for an entire day, and only then did we come up with the detailed statistics. Everyone turned to look at Dabai. Dabai spoke with a serious expression. This is the number of immortal tool parts we received from all of the sects. No one had any reaction to this. Many return to void stage mighty figures didn't even have immortal tools to play with. If any sect really gave immortal tools to other sects during their celebration, then they really had to be retarded. We received 8 immortal pills and 18 immortal fruits. Woof! Dabai continued. Everyone was ecstatic to hear this. They finally had a way to cultivate. Immortal pills and immortal fruits were top-rate cultivation resources for sects, and it was a pleasant surprise to receive so many. After Dabai's explanation, they learned that most of the immortal rank items had been contributed by the Celestial Court, the 4 great sects, and the 9 Imperials. The Heavenly Sword sect had also given an immortal pill as a congratulatory gift. And Lin was very touched. Dabai continued, we also received 70 spirit tools, 163 spirit pills, 220 spirit fruits, 450 magic tools, over 1,200 kilograms of various spirit herbs, over 100 types of tool refinement materials, over 2,500 kilograms, and 35 special tools. Woof! Hiss! Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Just these items alone were worth more than 10 million spirit stones. Dabai patted the table with his paw, indicating that there was no need to make a fuss. Do you know how many spirit stones we've collected? Woof! And Lin asked hesitantly, over 10 million? The corners of Dabai's lips curled upwards, revealing 2 canine teeth. He raised his 3 paws and chuckled. It's 32. 5 million spirit stones. Woof! And Lin was shocked. F***CK. Lu Qianhuan took a deep breath. That many. Lu Debao was so scared that he almost fell off his chair. His round eyes widened. Could it be a mistake? Tang Shimin interjected at this moment. It's absolutely true. Dabai and I did our calculations 3 whole times. Hiss! Everyone truly sucked in a breath of cold air this time. They looked at one another, but they didn't know what to say. In the cultivation world, gifting was very straightforward. Everyone liked to give spirit stones. This was because spirit stones were the most widely used source of energy. Cultivation, tool refinement, pill refinement, and spell formations all required spirit stones. It could be said that spirit stones were a hard currency that would never depreciate in value. There were several hundred sects, so when Lin felt like giving a few tens of thousands of spirit stones to each sect would be enough. Never would he have thought that they would exceed the 30 million spirit stones threshold. Didn't this mean that many sects had given over 100,000 spirit stones at once? So our sect suddenly became so rich. Su Xiaolan murmured to herself, "In just one day, we've accumulated so much wealth. That's amazing." Little stars flashed in Su Qinyun's eyes, as if she could see a bright future ahead of her. Classmate and Lin is right. If we make this sect celebration as big as possible, then collect congratulatory gifts, we'll really be able to earn a lot of money. To be honest, there's so much money that I'm feeling a little dizzy, Xianyuan Cheng exclaimed with amazement on his face. What kind of experience was it to receive congratulatory gifts worth 40 to 50 million spirit stones for just one sect celebration? All of the higher-ups of the 4-9 Immortal sect felt so good. This was the feeling of becoming rich overnight. As the sect leader, and Lin couldn't help but say, "I have a bold idea." Dabai interjected, "In response to your bold idea, I have an immature suggestion." Lu Qianhuan clapped her hands together. "Cut the crap. Tell me, how many more sect celebrations are we going to hold?" "Once a day. Let's make it a never-ending celebration." Xue Zhantian spoke in a domineering manner, and Lin pressed a hand down on Xue Zhantian's soft, fair body. "Don't King act cute. If we do it once a day, who's going to listen to us? You're going to get tired, so there has to be a time interval." Xianyuan Cheng crossed his arms with a thoughtful expression on his handsome face. There has to be a reason for the celebration. Otherwise, the other sects won't come. Secondly, the celebration has to be cyclical in order to make money over time. Su Xiaolan snapped her fingers with a smile. "How about we hold a celebration for the 4-9 Immortal sect's anniversary? The first anniversary celebration, the second anniversary celebration, the third anniversary celebration, the endless cycle lasting forever, the money rolling in." Everyone's eyes lit up. "That's brilliant." And Lin was very elated, as if he had found a way to make money for the sect. He paused for a moment before continuing, "Do you have any other suggestions?" As an elder, Lin Junjun clasped a hand over her chest and stared at everyone with incredulity on her face. This sect development discussion is the most bizarre one I've ever seen. A bunch of higher-ups are discussing how to make money from celebrations. All of the higher-ups turned to Lin Junjun with confusion on their faces. It was as if they were saying, "Is there a problem?" Lin Junjun was struck by a sense of discomfort upon seeing this. Was what she had said wrong? Why did she seem to be so out of place here? And Lin spoke in a meaningful and heartfelt voice. "Comrade Lin Junjun, I think you should understand something. Regardless of whether it's a black cat or a white cat, it's a good cat as long as it can catch mice. If the sect can make money this way, then why not do it? But this kind of development isn't healthy and sustainable. A sect should have a way to make money," Lin Junjun argued. "I'm not saying we should give up on other ways to make money. We're just discussing how to make money from celebrations first. Even if the second celebration doesn't make as much money as the first one, maybe only 10 million or a few million spirit stones, it's still better than nothing, right? Think about it. Why wouldn't you want to make a few million spirit stones from one celebration?" And Lin was still explaining with a serious expression, and Lin Junjun found it difficult to refute his words. Thus, all of the higher-ups of the 4-9 Immortal sect began to discuss the celebratory event again. Lin Junjun looked at the group of higher-ups who were indulging in their own free time. Lin Junjun fell into deep thought. Shouldn't the Celestial Court also hold a celebration to make money? For example, hold a celebration for her birthday? Then he would also do it for First Sister and Sixth Sister's birthdays? Or hold a heavenly peach banquet? Chapter 766. Thus, the celebration of the sect came to an end, and Lin and the others finally began to discuss other aspects of the sect's development. The main focus of the sect is resources, cultivation methods, mystic realms, and talents. And Lin looked around at everyone and said, "Half of us still have to attend classes in the Celestial Court. What are your thoughts on how we should develop the sect in the next 2 to 3 years? There's no need to hurry with regards to cultivation methods. We have many different types of cultivation methods, and all of them are the purest and most profound cultivation methods, which are more than enough to dominate the entire kingdom of the 9 states," Su Xiaolan replied. "Except for the Celestial Court," Lin Junjun added. Su Xiaolan shot a glance at Lin Junjun. A faint smile appeared on Lin Junjun's face as she raised her chin, revealing her long, slender neck like a proud swan. And Lin rolled his eyes. He felt like there was a traitor in the sect. "Mystic realms can only be found by chance, so there's no need to hurry," Xin Yuancheng chimed in. "Then we can only start with resources and talents. Anything that can enhance one's cultivation base can be referred to as resources. Spirit stones, pills, all types of tools, as well as some food that can enhance one's cultivation base, as well as some strange materials. We can start collecting them all," Bai Ling chimed in. "We might not have enough manpower, right? Especially with regards to spirit stone mines, we'll need a lot of manpower to search for and fight for them. I just want to slack off," and Lin turned to everyone. "That's all right. We don't have to be in a hurry to develop our sect, so we can take our time in terms of resources. Don't forget the reason we established this sect in the first place. This is just a place for us friends to socialize and have fun. We can just do whatever we want with the sect. There's no need to take things too seriously, and don't tire yourselves out." Everyone heaved a sigh of relief upon hearing this, and a hint of a smile appeared on their faces. As the sect leader, and Lin suddenly encouraged everyone to slack off, but they didn't feel any disgust toward him. Instead, they felt like this was exactly what they had envisioned a sect to be like. Even Lin Junjun looked at Lin with a peculiar light in her eyes after a brief moment of shock. Lu Qianhuan's purple eyes lit up. Could it be? And Lin wants to create a Buddha-like sect? What Buddhist sect? And Lin was a little confused. That's right. We eat, drink, and play every day. When the time comes, the sect will develop on its own. Lu Qianhuan giggled excitedly. And Lin, everyone. And Lin's expression darkened. Lu Qianhuan, do you have some kind of misunderstanding about Buddhism? But a sect where we eat, drink, and play all day sounds really fun. A faint smile appeared on Su Xiaolan's face, and she was a little expectant. "I also think it's a great idea." Tang Shimin felt as if he had found a soulmate, but there's almost no way this plan is feasible. Who can say how a sect like this should be run? Do we eat, drink, and play for free? Xian Yuancheng felt like it was a bit unrealistic. Just hold a few more celebrations. Lu Qianhuan replied without any hesitation. Su Qianyun spoke in her mellow voice. "You're right. This will make money quickly." Su Xiaolan nodded. "I agree." And Lin also smiled. "You're right." Thus, everyone returned to their discussion about celebrations. Lin Junjun stared at the higher-ups before her with astonishment on her face. They had just begun to discuss the development of the sect, but it had only been a few F*King minutes, and the atmosphere had already become so twisted. In the end, it was all thanks to Bai Ling's reminder that the most important thing for everyone was to focus on was cultivation. They couldn't slack off in their cultivation, So the existence of the sect couldn't be limited to just eating, drinking, and playing. They also had to develop the sect in order to receive real resources in return. As soon as these words were spoken, they forcefully reversed the distorted scene. Lin Junjun turned to Bai Ling with a grateful expression. Thank God there was still a reliable big sister in the sect. Otherwise, she really didn't know where else to go. And Lin clapped his hands. The prerequisite for obtaining resources is to have enough talented people. This includes exceptional cultivation teachers and exceptional disciples. Now let me confirm the teachers. Who wants to stay at the 4-9 Immortal Sect after the holiday? Lu Qianhuan, Xianju, Bai Ling, Xiao Chou, the white-scaled wolf god, and Xiao Zhe all raised their hands. And Lin turned to the white-scaled wolf god with a hint of surprise on his face. Little Lang, you don't need to teach little Tian how to break through to the return to void stage. I've already taught him everything that needs to be taught. Now, it's up to him to attain enlightenment. Master, I'm going to expand your territory for you, the white-scaled wolf god said. Shui Zhantian flapped his intricate little wings with a confident expression. Don't worry, Master. I, Shui Zhantian, am extremely talented and have attained many enlightenment recently. I'm only one step away from the return to void stage. So I definitely won't disappoint you. And Lin nodded. How about this? Lu Qianhuan's Sword Pavilion, Bai Ling's Purple Star Pavilion, White-Scaled Wolf Godsman Pavilion, and Little Zhao's Dragon Pavilion can all start recruiting. You can decide how many you want to recruit. I suggest that you go through the elite training for the core disciples, and I suggest that you recruit as many Outer Pavilion disciples as possible. The threshold for becoming an Outer Pavilion disciple was very low, and they were the type of people who had to run around in search of resources. The Inner Pavilion disciples were the foundation of a sect, and their aptitude and temperament all had to undergo strict examinations. There might even be a series of checkpoints set up to test them. Bai Ling volunteered to be the designer of the checkpoints. Level design and whatnot she loved it the most, and Lin, Debai, Miao Tian, and the others all shuddered as they recalled the horror of being subjected to the various checkpoints set up in the Purple Star ruins. A strong sense of sympathy welled up in their hearts toward the future Inner Pavilion disciples. And Lin's delegation of authority to recruit disciples was finally confirmed. Finally, they returned to the discussion of resources, and Lin suddenly thought of the 30 million spirit stones. How do we think the sect should spend these 30 million spirit stones? How about a normal session? Lu Qianhuan and Su Qianyun spoke in unison. The two celestial maidens looked at each other and smiled, as if they were on the same wavelength. Perhaps this was the goal of most girls, wanting to live in a more beautiful place. And Lin also wanted to have a normal session of 30 million spirit stones. Think about it. The Grandmaster Construction, Cultivator, who had mocked him for being poor, had only left for a few days before she was summoned back. Then he threw a huge sum of 30 million spirit stones at the Grandmaster Construction, Cultivator's face. Go my A***S. Hurry up and give me a normal session. Tisk, TSK. This was a really satisfying scene. However, and Lin wasn't a dictatorial person. He still had to listen to the opinions of others. This was a very controversial matter, so a vote was needed. Then he discovered that Xianyuan Cheng, Tang Shimin, Xiao Zhe, Xiao Chou, and the others all felt that they should spend the money on expanding the sect's influence. They could postpone the matter of renovating the sect. The sect had just been established, so they needed money. This amount of money was very important. If there was a dispute, then it was very simple. Vote. In the end, over 60% of the people supported using the spirit stones for the sect's basic operations. Their hopes for a normal session were dashed. This conference regarding the sect lasted for a very long time, but it wasn't boring at all. Instead, it was very fun. Everyone was friends and classmates, so they were able to have all kinds of discussions. The idle fish sect leader and Lin didn't care and allowed them to express their opinions. Thus, everyone was very enthusiastic to participate in the discussion. It was as if they were building a new home together, and everyone was a part of this new home. In the end, everyone decided on a few important matters. The sect's finances were managed by Dabai and Xiao Zhe. Dabai was going to continue to follow in Lin, so Xiao Zhe was going to manage the sect's finances for the time being. The dragon tribe was extremely talented when it came to treasures and finances, so Lin was very reassured. The Sword Pavilion, Purple Star Pavilion, Man Pavilion, and Dragon Pavilion officially began to recruit disciples. The Purple Star Phoenix Research Institute was designated as the #1 mystic realm of the 4-9 Immortal Sect. Bai Ling was going to modify the mystic realm to make it more suitable for everyone to cultivate and experience. The maintenance of world peace business was officially launched. At the same time, the Mystic Department and Divine Mirror Enforcement Department were officially established. Chapter 767. A day later, the events that had taken place during the 4-9 Immortal Sect's grand inauguration ceremony had spread throughout the entire kingdom of the 9 states. Almost all of the first-rate sects had gathered, and countless immortals had come to congratulate them. All types of unique inheritances, several powerful return to void stage mighty figures, a sect protection spell formation that could force the sect leader of the Heavenly Sword sect, Lu Mingxian, and a peerlessly domineering sect leader's speech. All of this had spread like wildfire throughout the entire kingdom of the 9 states, and even the entire Tai Chu continent. The 4-9 Immortal Sect's reputation soared, and it became the sect that was mentioned the most by all cultivators. It was as if the 4-9 Immortal Sect's trending search and discussion boards had been flooded by the 4-9 Immortal Sect. Even mortals who didn't cultivate were aware of how bad this sect was. Not long after that, the news that the 4-9 Immortal Sect was recruiting disciples exploded like a bomb, creating a massive stir. Countless cultivators turned toward this legendary sect as their hearts thumped with eagerness. Within a tea house in the Baihua state, there was an exquisitely beautiful woman, and all of the cultivators around her couldn't help but turn their attention toward her. However, her expression was as cold as a snow lotus, and none of the cultivators dared to do anything reckless. All of them had a feeling that this woman was not someone they could mess with. The woman had a pair of extremely intricate and beautiful dragon horns on her head, and they appeared pure and natural under the light of the sun. She was holding a newspaper in her hand, and her cold expression seemed to have melted as she looked at the passionate young man on the cover. Who would have thought that you'd already become so powerful in such a short time? She smiled, and her clear eyes were extremely gentle. In her heart, she silently labeled that man as a successful career. The 4-9 Immortal Sect? The inheritance of the primordial dragon tribe from the Dragon Pavilion sounds like a good idea, but I wonder if they'll accept someone like me who escaped from the Dragon Court. On a certain island in the East Sea, a round, fruit-like monster quickly ran toward the throne with a newspaper in his hand. Reporting, Your Majesty. The 4-9 Immortal Sect is officially recruiting disciples. On the throne, a green-haired man with bright, piercing eyes accepted the newspaper and stared at the portrait of the man on the newspaper with a dumbstruck expression. It's him. It really is him. What's going on with this world? That inexperienced youth is now the sect master of such a powerful sect? Has it really only been a year or two? Now that the Dragon Court wants to recruit me, why don't I join the 4-9 Immortal Sect? And Lin might be able to protect this island in consideration of our friendship in the Winter Dragon Tomb. The man fell into deep thought and finally made a decision. The 4-9 Immortal Sect was definitely going to be his backer. On the Tai Chu continent, a place where evil spirits and ferocious beasts roamed freely, a man from the Dragon Clan stood on top of a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. In his hand was a jade tube of information he had obtained from a ferocious beast spatial artifact. A smile suddenly appeared on his face. An authentic legacy of the primordial dragon clan? Interesting. Looks like it's time to find some time to meet that old ancestor. I hope he won't disappoint me. Holy glacial lands. The holy city was blown up by an unknown force. Millions of snow maidens perished in the explosion. A terrifyingly low temperature gushed forth from the holy glacial lands, and even the snow maidens who preferred to live in cold environments were unable to withstand it. Tens of millions of snow maidens in the holy glacial lands began to migrate. Among the migrating group, a white-haired woman with golden eyes read a newspaper with an almost imperceptible smile on her face. High Priestess Shangguan, why have you been staring at that newspaper for so long? My heart aches whenever I see that man. How detestable! Yan Hua's chest trembled with rage as she recalled the scene where her storage ring had been snatched from her. Shangguan put away the newspaper awkwardly. This is a new sect in the Kingdom of the 9 States. Only by knowing one's own strength and one's enemy's strength can one better face one's enemies. Yan Hua shook her head. The Great Empress and the High Priestess have a very subtle attitude toward the Kingdom of the 9 States. Forget it. Let's go to the opposite shore realm first. Shangguan took a glance at the Holy Palace leader and felt like she really wasn't a bad person. She didn't dislike this snow maiden after all. In reality, most snow maidens weren't complicated. Many of them participated in battles for a single reason, and that was to survive. However, it was exactly because they wanted to survive that they were able to be more ruthless and decisive when it came to certain things. As a result, they became demonesses in the eyes of many living beings. For example, they were going to the opposite shore realm this time. They were going to seek refuge, but they were also going to expand their territory and slaughter. The holy glacial lands were no longer suitable for them to live in, so they could only go to the neighboring territories. The Kingdom of the 9 States was too powerful, and they would definitely be wiped out if they went there. The eastern region had already become a land of death, so they could only head west to the legendary realm of dead souls to see if they could bully the ghosts at the same time, within a paradise filled with the chirping of birds and the fragrance of flowers. A woman enshrouded in divine light, with her features obscured, was humming a tune as she watered a divine flower. This water was immortal jade, dream, soul water, harvested from the 9 heavens. A single cup of this water would allow a mortal to dream for 3,000 years and experience countless fantastical lives. She had once given a cup of immortal jade dream soul water to a mortal who was on the verge of death. That mortal thought that he had died and transmigrated to another world. Then, that mortal experienced a magnificent and moving life in this other world. After experiencing countless trials and tribulations, he successfully became the most powerful being in that other world. He even saved the world and finally ascended to the immortal realm. After ascending, he awoke from his dream. The mortal lay on that familiar yet strange bed, only to discover that everything was just a dream. The real him was still lying on the bed. What supreme of the continent? What dominating the world? What dominating the world? What dominating the world? It was all fake. So everything was just AF * King Dream. Trash was still trash. A terminal illness was still a terminal illness. That mortal broke down and cried himself to death. Who could have imagined that a supreme venerable who had forged a supreme Tao in a different world would end up crying to death in the end? The woman, enshrouded in divine light, quietly watered the flower with immortal jade dream soul water. Her voice was like the sounds of nature, making one forget about the mundane world. What is a dream and what is reality? If that mortal doesn't wake up, or if he ascends, that will be the end. If he never wakes up from the dream, then to that mortal, everything is probably reality. Xiao Hei, do you think we're also dreaming a dream that we might wake up from, or we might never wake up from? The woman, enshrouded in divine light, turned to the beautiful woman with the tail of a snake and a head of black hair. The black-haired woman was none other than Black Spirit Snake, who had been infuriated by Enlin. A light smile appeared on her face upon hearing this question. "Your Majesty, if this really is a dream, then we have to be the happiest ones in the dream." The woman, enshrouded in divine light, seemed to have been amused by this, and the light around her became even brighter. "Xiao Hei, I can see a hint of dissatisfaction and confusion in your expression." Black Spirit Snake pursed her lips. "I lost my mansion and had my phoenix egg stolen, so be it. I'll just find an opportunity to beat him up in the future. But you actually bestowed him a blessed land. The woman chuckled. "Are you very indignant? Are you very wronged? Do you really want to beat someone up?" Black Spirit Snake: "This world is about to take a turn for the worse, so I naturally have to make many arrangements. And Lin's meteoric rise proves that he is blessed by the heavens, so it's a good thing for us to forge a good relationship with him. Don't keep thinking about those things." Xiao Hei wouldn't dare. Black Spirit Snake bowed her head in a respectful manner. However, she didn't think much of this. Good relationship? No matter how good it is, I'll beat him up first. Chapter 768. Within the 4-9 Immortal Sect, Bai Ling, Lu Qianhuan, Xiaozhe, and Little Lang were all busy choosing disciples. As the sect leader, Enlin roamed around the sect and enjoyed the scenery. Generally speaking, a bad *SS sect leader didn't have to do everything himself, just like what was written in some movies or novels. Only when something earth-shattering happened would the sect master appear to turn the tide and put on a good show. Other than that, who knew what the sect leader was doing? To outsiders, they could just say that they were cultivating in seclusion. If they were caught having fun outside, they could just say that they were cultivating in the mortal world. No one would think much of it. Instead, they would think that they were becoming more and more mysterious. And Lin and Su Xiaolan held hands as they strolled up the full moon mountain. And Lin stood at the summit of the mountain and looked down at the entire sect. In the distance, there was a vast expanse of lush grasslands. A sense of pride welled up in his heart as he pointed down at the vast expanse of immortal buildings. Xiaolan looked down the mountain. "What do you see?" Su Xiaolan blinked with uncertainty. "This is the territory of the 4-9 Immortal Sect." "No, that's the territory I've conquered for you." And Lin chortled with glee. Su Xiaolan pursed her lips in resignation. "You're getting more and more mischievous. Don't you like it?" A dejected expression appeared on Enlin's face. Su Xiaolan tried to suppress her laughter, but her eyes had already curved into adorable crescent moons. She forced herself to play along with Enlin's act. "I don't care how much territory your Majesty has conquered. All I want is for your Majesty to know that there will always be a true heart in this world. Regardless of the wind, frost, rain, or snow, it will always be warm for you." And Lin was dumbstruck. Never would he have thought that Su Xiaolan would be able to answer him so well. Even though she was just teasing him, and Lin could detect the sincerity in her words. He recalled everything that Su Xiaolan had done for him that day when he was on the brink of death. There would always be a sincere heart in this world. Regardless of the wind, frost, rain, or snow, it would always be warm for him. And Lin stared at the woman in front of him in a daze. There were thousands of flirtatious expressions in the world, but how could they compare to this woman's shallow and bright smile at this moment? "Are you shocked by my wit?" Su Xiaolan looked at Enlin's dazed expression and couldn't help but find it funny. "Don't talk. Kiss me." And Lin leaned forward. Su Xiaolan's expression faltered. Their lips touched at this moment. This kiss was sweeter than the best bejeweled nectar, better than countless things in the world. After a while, the two of them sat on a huge rock that extended out of the cliff, gazing at the vast and pleasant scenery in the distance. The clear blue sky, the pure white clouds, and the undulating green of the earth were all very monotonous colors. But when they were combined together, it was incomparably pleasant. What a beautiful scenery! Su Xiaolan sighed with emotion. She placed her hands behind her back and looked up at the sky. A light breeze swept up her hair, making her appear even more graceful and elegant. And Lin stared at her for a few seconds before replying with a serious expression. A spring breeze cannot compare to a smile from you. Su Xiaolan glanced at Lin from the corner of her eyes. Are you done yet? Honest people are always so direct, and Lin replied with a serious expression. Su Xiaolan. The two of them continued to chat idly. Su Xiaolan's cultivation base had already reached the soul formation intermediate stage, and her progression was like a rocket. Perhaps this had something to do with the vermilion bird bloodline in her body. After all, that was the essential blood of a holy beast. Coupled with her freakish aptitude, it would be strange if she wasn't bad *assess Su Xiaolan's cultivation base was the same as Lin's, and she could surpass it at any time. This made Lin feel a sense of pressure. He felt like it was time for him to regain his manhood. He couldn't let Enritian become a pretty boy in the Xiaolan family, could he? How was he supposed to regain his manhood? And Lin turned his gaze toward his sea of vital energy again. All of this came back to Enkiran. He remembered that the closest he came to success was when he used Lu Qianhuan's tribulation lightning to create a lavish cape for Enkiran. And Kiran was like his little electric motor. Anything that he could use, and Lin could also use, such as the golden void lightning or the white lightning that was imbued with extremely powerful sword intent. He could also borrow the power of the white, flaming vermilion bird from time to time. But that vermilion bird was extremely arrogant, so he couldn't use it even if he wanted to. As for that little whale of the body of chaotic essence that Enkiran used as a steed, it was a tough character that lived in his house without paying rent. However, Lin couldn't do anything about it and could only allow it to dance around in his sea of vital energy. Xiaolan, do you remember the golden baby that I suddenly spat out during my tribulation transcendence? And Lin suddenly asked. I do. And Kiran, I named him after him. Didn't you eat him? Su Xiaolan blinked with curiosity, and Lin's face convulsed slightly, and he corrected her with a serious expression. I didn't eat him. I swallowed him into my sea of vital energy. Su Xiaolan pursed her lips. That's about it. Now, I want to give him a piece of clothing because he's been running around naked in my sea of vital energy this entire time, and I can't stand it. Do you have any ideas? And Lin continued. Su Xiaolan, all of us have seen Enkiran naked in the past, and you didn't say anything about it. What, now that he's running around naked in your sea of vital energy, all by himself, you can't stand it? Su Xiaolan was a little perplexed, but she was also a little amused. And Lin was a little speechless. To be honest, no matter how much Enkiran ran around naked in his sea of vital energy, he didn't find it strange at all. He was just a child. Running with his but bare and a small elephant trunk was called innocence. And Lin could only come clean with Su Xiaolan. All right, I'm going to put clothes on Enkiran and teach him a lesson. Only then will I be able to progress to the soul formation final stage. Su Xiaolan was astonished. And Lin, I've discovered that your method of cultivation is becoming more and more crooked. And Lin replied with an expression of despair. I don't want to either. I've been stuck at this bottleneck for almost a year. What can I do? Don't worry, it's only been a year. There are some cultivators who have been stuck at the soul formation stage for thousands of years. Don't be hasty. Take your time. Su Xiaolan waved her hand to indicate that this was normal, and Lin shook his head. No, I can't see any hope of progressing to the soul formation stage. What's the point of cultivating if I don't progress by a rank in a year? Su Xiaolan. Sometimes I feel like the students at our school are all very tolerant. And Lin understood what she was saying, and he chuckled. Those who aren't powerful will get beaten up if they flex. However, those who are powerful and extremely powerful will attract fans when they flex. Su Xiaolan rolled her eyes. Even if they fight, they won't be able to beat you. Correct. And Lin chuckled. Then, Xiaolan, Do you have any good ideas that can help me break through my bottleneck? No, I've never raised a child before, and I've never raised a child in my sea of vital energy. Su Xiaolan couldn't be bothered with Enlin, and she snapped, "You can figure it out yourself." And Lin pulled on Su Xiaolan's hand. Don't be like this. Hurry up and tell me." Su Xiaolan was astonished, and her beautiful eyes lingered on Enlin's body. "Enlin, you're actually acting like a spoiled child in front of me." Enlin, that's right, why was he acting like a spoiled child in front of Su Xiaolan? Hiss, was this still in Ritian style? Was it because Su Xiaolan's aura was too strong, or was it because his aura was too weak? And Lin suddenly turned toward Su Xiaolan and lifted her chin with a finger. A sly smile appeared on his face. "Woman, you have to think of a way for me. Otherwise, I'm going to be unhappy." Su Xiaolan. Chapter 769. Su Xiaolan was caught off guard by Enlin's sudden display of dominance, and a rare blush appeared on her flawless features. However, before Enlin had a chance to do anything else, a pair of hands landed on his shoulders and gave him a violent shove. Boom! Enlin was pinned against a rock by Su Xiaolan. She had her hands on Enlin's shoulders, and holy flames revolved around her body as she looked down upon Enlin with a pair of eyes imbued with dragon might. "You." Enlin stared at Su Xiaolan with astonishment etched on his face. "I don't like your domineering attitude." A faint smile appeared on Su Xiaolan's face, but there was a hint of smugness on her face, and Lin took a deep breath. "I'll make sure you get used to it." Boom! For divine flames appeared at once. Flames exploded, and heaven and earth tremored violently. 4-9 Immortal Sect's Full Moon Mountain was instantly engulfed in sword intent, boundless lightning, and scorching flames. Everyone clicked their tongues in wonder as they looked up at the mountain. Shuezhantian was in high spirits. Master and mistress are glued to each other again, and they're making love again. Dabai yawned before stroking Shuezhantian's ball-like body with a lazy paw. "I don't even need to look to know that Big Brother and is going to be rubbed into the ground by Xiaolan in the end." Woof! Why? Shuezhantian was perplexed. Master is a powerful being. Xiaolan is powerful, but how could she possibly defeat Master? A mysterious smile appeared on Dabai's face. "You don't understand. There is a power known as love, and it can suppress Big Brother N's power so that he will never be able to defeat Xiaolan. Make love." Shuezhantian nodded with a hint of understanding. After an intense sparring session, Enlin was pinned to the ground by Su Xiaolan again. Both of them were panting heavily, clearly having expended a lot of energy during that battle. Phew, that felt great. Su Xiaolan wiped the sweat from her forehead with a smile, and Lin sighed with emotion. "You've progressed to the soul formation intermediate stage, and your power has increased significantly. If things continue like this, I'm afraid you're going to surpass me soon." Su Xiaolan wiped the sweat from Enlin's brow with a handkerchief before asking in a gentle voice, "How is it? Did your cultivation base improve a bit after that?" And Lin fell into despair again at the mention of this. "I didn't. Not only didn't Kirin not respond to the power of the Golden Void Lightning, but Kirin didn't even respond when he borrowed the power of the Golden Void Lightning. All he could do was sleep. In the past, when I borrowed strength from it, it would pretend to point its finger at the sky in my spiritual energy ocean. And Su to say, in Lin above Lin above," and Lin said with a Xiaolan. And Lin heaved a forlorn sigh. "He's hopeless, and Kirin doesn't even know how to flex anymore, so how is he going to put on clothes?" His journey to break through the bottleneck finally ended in failure, and Lin felt like his system was crazy. How was he supposed to find a direction without even clarifying the conditions? "Just tell me how you're going to dress in Kirin." No matter how hard he tried, the only response he received was a cold interface. 2 more days passed by in the 4-9 Immortal Sect. Bai Ling designed a trial in the small world of the Phoenix Research institute known as Ghost Soldiers. That test targeted the trial takers' divine soul and Tao heart. In a dim space, countless ghost soldiers surged toward them, and all types of ghostly illusions appeared, making the trial takers lose their composure. Dabai was the guinea pig. Tui, the little white dog, was also participating in the trial. If all the disciples died in there, then it wouldn't be called a trial anymore. Instead, it would be a slaughterhouse. Hence, Dabai had to participate in person to test out the firepower of this trial. Then, Bai Ling would perform the necessary data analysis. In the most difficult ghost soldier trial, he attained enlightenment amid the howling and wailing of ghosts. Silver gale force winds swept through the surroundings, instantly vanquishing all of the ghost soldiers. Bai Ling was dumbstruck for a moment, and Enlin suddenly stood up with an expression of ecstasy on his face. Dabai stared blankly at the silver gale force winds in a radius of 100 feet. After a few seconds of stupefaction, he finally let loose a cry of joy. Ha! I finally have my own domain, woof! Dabai's domain was very powerful. Not only was it a wind-type domain, but it was also imbued with extremely powerful consciousness attacks. That night, everyone gathered together for a celebratory dinner. Thank you, Big Brother-in, for your immortal pills and spirit pills. Thank you, Big Sister Bai, for your sea-bead immortal fruits. Thank you, everyone, for your support. I, Dabai, will be the first to drink, woof. Dabai raised his cup and took a large swig. He was clearly in high spirits. Everyone also raised their cups with elation before downing their cups at the same time. In this sect, everyone was a family. They were all very happy to see a member make a breakthrough. I'm the happiest that Dabai has one foot in the soul formation stage. And Lin raised his cup with excitement on his face. After all, he's the only one in my beast pet group who hasn't reached the soul formation stage yet. As his master, I'm naturally very anxious. Think about it, it's been a year and he hasn't taken a single step forward. What kind of nonsense is that? Gasp! Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air as they stared in shock at the man who spoke with confidence and composure. They shouted in their hearts, "We're not the same." Thankfully, Dabai has also taken that step, and I can finally rest assured. Come, let's have another cup. And Lin raised his cup high into the air. Everyone raised their cups and down their cups. Tang Shimin, who was about to graduate, was still at the spirit-nurturing final stage. What kind of bullsh asterisk tea prodigy am I? I can't even compare to a dog, he said with tears streaming down his face. Xian Yuan Chung patted Tang Shimin's shoulder in consolation. It's not just you. Even I'm under a lot of pressure. Hence, I'm planning to take advantage of this break to raise my cultivation base to the soul formation initial stage. Otherwise, I won't be going to school anymore. Tang Shimin, are you really here to console me? Why do I feel even sadder? Big Brother and Beast Pets are no match for him. His Beast Pets are at least at the soul formation stage. Don't worry, Senior. Miao Tian also patted Tang Shimin's shoulder in consolation. Tang Shimin finally heaved a sigh of relief at the sight of Miao Tian's adorable smile, and a relieved smile appeared on his face. Get out of my way, junior brother. Junior sister is the best, hee. That's right, classmate Miao Tian is right. Luo Zipping nodded in agreement. Take Xue Zhantian, for example. He's clearly just a ball, but he's almost at the return to void stage. We can't say that Senior Tang can even compare to a ball, right? What kind of ball is that? Tang Shimin's expression darkened upon hearing this, and he pointed at Luo Zipping. Get out of here. I don't have such a prickly junior brother like you. Everyone burst into laughter, and the air was filled with a joyful atmosphere. Lu Qianhuan poured herself a glass of wine and took a small sip. A relaxed smile appeared on her face as she looked at the lively scene before her. She didn't think that her whimsical thoughts with Enlin on the forest path would really turn into a lively and harmonious scene tonight. Huan, let me offer you a toast. May our sword pavilion prosper day by day." A long-haired beauty walked over with a smile. Lu Qianhuan raised her head to see that the newcomer was Xianju. She was her best friend who had graduated from the Celestial Court and had come here to start a business with her. She nodded with a smile and clinked glasses with Xianju. "Don't worry. Our sword pavilion is going to surpass the Heavenly Sword Sect in the future." Lu Qianhuan downed her glass as she spoke. Chapter 770. Night fell, and a bright moon hung high in the sky. Under the moonlight, there was a petite figure meditating on a rock. She was the number 1 and only disciple of the 4-9 Immortal Sect. Yiling weak vital energy surged through her body, and it was clear that her meridians had already been opened, allowing her to draw energy into her body. She had become a cultivator of the first stage Tao body. She looked up at the white-robed figure in the distance with a bright and piercing gaze. She only came to her senses after a long while, and she shook her head as she murmured to herself, "Master, I'll definitely work hard in my cultivation and repay you for everything you've done for me. Little Ling won't disappoint you." Yi Ling made up her mind, and a solemn expression appeared on her face as she immersed herself in cultivation again. Master had told her that her aptitude was very good and that she would definitely become an exceptional cultivator in the future. The next morning, a flat, circular mechanical object that resembled a flying saucer flew out from the Phoenix Research Institute and hovered in the air above the 4-9 Immortal Sect. It had a diameter of several hundred meters, and its entire body was pristine white. It glowed with a dazzling sheen under the sunlight, giving it an extremely futuristic appearance. Lu Qianhuan was extremely excited. "Wow, isn't that an alien flying saucer?" Xianyuan Cheng was a little surprised. "Have we seen that thing somewhere before?" There was a flying saucer with a similar appearance in Celestial Immortal Shouyang's tomb, and Lin replied. Everyone came to a sudden realization. No wonder it looked so familiar. Xianyuan Cheng and the others recalled the horror of being dominated by the bald man, while Tang Shimin recalled the horror of lying on a stretcher like a dead fish. Whoosh! The white flying saucer disappeared into the clouds before flying into the distance at an extremely fast speed. Today was the day of the examination for all the disciples who wanted to sign up for the 4-9 Immortal Sect. According to incomplete statistics, there were over 1 million people from the Kingdom of the 9 States and even the entire Tai Chu continent who wanted to enter the 4-9 Immortal Sect. There were men and women, young and old. Donghua, the white-scaled wolf god, Lu Qianhuan, Su Qianyin, Xiao Chou, and Xiao Zhe. After 5 days of careful selection, only over 10,000 disciples who met the basic requirements were left. Bai Ling was currently on her way to the Purple Star State's selection grounds to pick up over 10,000 disciples for the final trial, and Lin and the others who pursued elite education might only be left with a few dozen core disciples in the end. As for the disciples in the outer pavilion who handled all kinds of mundane affairs, it would all depend on their mood. After Xiaozi finished selecting the disciples, he first traveled through space to report the situation. Master, there are a total of 16 disciples of the Soul Formation stage, 309 of the Spirit Nurturing stage, 2333 of the 6th stage Tao body, and above, 5201 of the 6th stage Tao body and below, and 1210 of the 5th stage Tao body who don't have a cultivation base but have decent aptitude. And Master, I also saw a woman this time. She's especially exquisite. Are you interested? He inched closer to Enlin and asked in a low voice. As he spoke, he glanced at Su Xiaolan in the distance. Master's wife didn't notice. And Lin chuckled. Who was he? How could he lay his hands on the disciples of his sect? Little Xiao, it's not that I want to criticize you, but you're already a pavilion master. Why aren't you serious? The development of a sect requires a good environment and a harmonious cultivation atmosphere. How can you be a teacher if you have other thoughts when you see a beautiful woman? We have to lead by example and be honest and upright. This is what a top-rate sect should be like, understand? And Lin scolded him without hesitation. Xiaoza lowered his head in shame. You're right, master. Then tell me, which woman made you lose your composure like this? And Lin puffed out his chest and spoke with his head held high. Xiaoza faltered slightly before becoming excited again. She's a member of the Dragon Court of the Eastern Seas. Not only is she as beautiful as a celestial maiden, but she's also supremely talented and extremely powerful. Her bloodline is also extremely pure. As long as she cultivates and develops normally, there's even a sliver of hope for her to reach the Tao integration stage, let alone the return to void stage. Don't you think she's exquisite? And Lin was astonished. Such a bad *SS candidate would come to our sect? Would the Dragon Court of the Eastern Seas be willing to let her go? She's a Tao integration stage seed. It wasn't that he was looking down on his sect, but rather, there was no need for them to do this. What were they after? How powerful was a Tao integration stage cultivator? Just one of them was enough to rival a super sect. That's the most exciting part. I heard that she left the Dragon Court of the Eastern Seas for some reason. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to take advantage of her. How about it? Is Master interested? Xiao Zhe winked at Lin as he spoke, as if to say, you know what I mean. And Lin was struck by a sense of familiarity upon hearing this. Do you think that exquisite dragon maiden of yours is called Beilian? And Lin asked. Xiaoza was given a fright. Holy F***CK. Master, how did you know? And Lin. A silver flying disc appeared in the sky at this moment before slowly descending. 10,000 cultivators who were about to undergo their final cultivation appeared on the territory of the 4-9 Immortal sect. An extremely eye-catching woman appeared before Xiaoza and Enlin. Xiaoza pointed at the woman and was just about to speak. However, the woman had already taken the initiative to make her way toward the two of them. Her eyes roamed over Enlin's body as she extended a slender hand. Enlin, we meet again! And Lin shook her hand with a smile on his face. Long time no see, Dragon Maiden. Welcome to the 4-9 Immortal sect. Bei Lian chuckled. I hope sect leader and Lin doesn't look down on me. Of course not. If you want to join my sect, I'll let you in through the back door. And Lin waved a hand in a lavish manner. So be it. I'll just follow the rules. The sect leader has to be impartial, so I can't break the rules just because of me. The cold expression on Bei Lian's face had already disappeared, and it was replaced by a relaxed smile. That's fine. With your power, those trials are nothing. By the way, how have you been in the past 2 years? And Lin asked. Me? Xiaoza's eyes widened as he looked at Enlin, then at Bei Lian. The two of them were chatting merrily, but he couldn't get a word in edgewise. He suddenly felt like an extra. At the same time, Xiaoza was also filled with admiration. As expected of Master, he had finally found a supreme-grade woman, but she turned out to be Master's friend. He had beauties all over the world. His luck with women was truly unparalleled. Xiaoza was extremely envious. He couldn't help but turn his gaze toward Master's wife. Master's wife's eyes were very sharp and filled with killing intent, for some reason, and Lin's body shuddered before a smile appeared on his face. Ms. Bei Lian, let me congratulate you in advance for passing the trial and for joining our big family. This was the end of the conversation. Bei Lian nodded with a smile before returning to the group of trial takers. Xiaoza sighed with emotion upon seeing this, and he began to sympathize with his master. So what if he had beauties all over the world? His wife could kill him with a single glance.